Hello and welcome to episode 51 of In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast. My name's Davey, and joined with me, as always, is the fine wine himself, Philip Hoy.
Goodest idea, underqualified gunman.
I don't get that reference, but we'll move on very quickly. Spencer, I haven't thought of a nickname for yourself today, but there was something that happened to us the other day with Robinson Squash. And I mean, we love squash on this podcast, so not to derail the podcast straight away, but I think it's worth explaining what happened here. You bought one of those little pocket things of squash, right? And do you want to tell the audience what happened?
I did. I can grab it. I can show you.
Go grab it, and then tell the audience what happened here with this squash and the conversation that we had, that unfolded, the revelations that came to pass with this bottle of squash.
So, I bought this little thing, a little Robinson's, and I thought, we've had lots of conversations in the past about squash and about quadruple concentrate. Can you go further? And I found this little thing and I thought, surely that's got to be strong. So I tried it, smashed it first try, by the way, perfect ratio. I couldn't believe it. This little thing is 66 milliliters and it makes 20 glasses of squash. Now, I gave that information to you, Davey, and you did the maths. Would you like to fill in the listeners?
I will. I'll just pull up my squash numbers. What I did first, I'll just explain to the audience, because this is important information. This is insane information. I went on to Asda and looked at a double concentrate, and a 1.75 litre bottle made 75 glasses. So I put that into my calculator and I thought, let's try and work out how much ml that is, right? So that works out at 25 millilitres of squash per glass. Spencer's, on his 66 millilitres, making 20 glasses of squash, is 3.3 millilitres, which means that's at least a 14 times concentrate. 14 times. That's not just going a little bit over. That's going 10 times. You went KO Ken on the squash level. Absolutely insane. And to nail it first time, I've got to call you Spencer Davis, the squash scientist. Because I don't know how the hell you did that, mate. Well done.
Thank you, mate. Yeah, I haven't tried again. It might have just been luck. But for now, I will take the title of squash scientist. Salazar Squash.
Salazar Squash. I'll give you that. Well, guys, we are here at episode 51. We had a fantastically fun episode last time, and this time will be no different. We got a lot to go through today. We got a stack of news to talk about, and we've just come off watching, unfortunately for us, the Marvel Disney Showcase. So last time, if you remember from the end of episode 50, we were going to discuss Gamescom, but we were so paralytically drunk that we couldn't get through the topic. So we're going to reattempt that today and also talk about the Marvel Disney Showcase just for a little moment. But first, it's very important, especially for our UK audience. We are a UK podcast. So it's very important just to take a moment and just basically just share our condolences to the country. The entire country's in a state of mourning at the moment because of the loss of Queen Elizabeth II. It's for you international listeners, it might not mean as much, but it is a big deal for the country. So I just want to say that our thoughts and prayers are out there for everyone that's suffering right now. I'm not much of a royalist myself. I don't think any of us are on the podcast, but I do feel for you. You know, there's a lot of people that care very strongly, and that's why this gag that I had laid up kind of comes over a bit bad right now. But this was planned before she popped her clogs. All right. Now, guys, as you know, I won the quiz on episode 50, making me a 2-time winner. Making me a king. And so we've not just got one king being taken over in the UK, we've now got 2. We got 2 kings. And now I'm thinking, I was going to wear this the entire episode, and now it just feels a little bit bad, a little bit grim.
Ooh. Yeah, not the best timing, really, was that?
No. I think this might go back in the cupboard, and I'll have to win the quiz on episode 60, and then I can revel in this. It kind of feels like a bad time. bad time. 20 quid that cost. Down the drain. Absolutely fucking wasted. Anywho, let's move the show on, shall we? Phil, we always start these episodes off with a question that we bring to the table. We get some insane topics. So we've had, how many 4-year-olds can you beat up? Would you rather have massive nips or tiny willy, nipple and willy swapping places? It's gone all over the shop. What are you bringing to the table today?
Okay, Davey, thanks for asking. And just to set the scene for my question, okay, I've done a bit of research, so I'm going to set the scene here for you guys. So as we all know, Uncharted's hero Nathan Drake has killed approximately 1,829 people across his first 3 games. So that's Drake's Fortune, Amongst Thieves, and Drake's Deception. Homicidal maniac or lovable rogue, you decide. But what I want to know, lads, have you ever tried to recreate something from a video game in real life? Now, I don't want you going out and doing your best Nathan Drake impression and shooting the shit up outside Cumbranan in Newport. Of course, that goes down. But Davey, I'll come over to you first. Has a video game ever influenced you to do something in real life?
Oh, Phil, all the time. All the time. My entire life is taken up whenever I've got to sneak anywhere. Especially like when you become a parent, you end up sneaking much more than you ever have in your entire life, because you'll put your kid down and then you've got to enter pure stealth mode to be able to leave the room without him waking up. And so as soon as it happens, all that's going on in my head is, Tring, snake, you got to get out of this, snake. And I'm like, dun 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 dun, dun 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 dun. And so you'll be in bed next to him and you'll be like moving so slowly, it's inconceivable to the eye. And then all that's going through my head is, it's just like, dum 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 dum. And I walk, and then you hit a creaky floorboard, and it's like, cling, wait, dun 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 dun. All alarms going off, kids blaring, wow wow wow, and it's like, oh, pew, snake. And it's over, and then you got to begin the mission again, put them down again, it starts again. And yes, I think anytime I've got to sneak, the Metal Gear Solid theme tune just starts rearing, and I try and emanate everything I've learned from 5 Metal Gear Solid games. That would probably be my example for you, Phil.
I was wondering why you had so many cardboard boxes at your house last time I was over. I just thought it was a bit messy around your house, but obviously you're using those to creep around the house.
It's one of those things that I think sometimes, the cardboard box just got so many uses, doesn't it, Kids aren't very good at hide and seek. They're actually terrible at it. You can literally, the one time I hid was just sitting in the chair that I was sitting in already. I just put a blanket over my head. And literally no idea. I was gone. I was completely gone. It was like playing Metal Gear on easy, or like very easy mode. It was unbelievable. But it does make you feel like an actual sneaking god, like an actual spy. And so I have hid in a massive box before. And it was the best time of my life. Better than my wedding day. Better than my kid being born. Just to know that I can get away with this, and I can move with the cardboard box and put it back down, and he has no idea. The best time. And then when he opens it, just be like, ring, and make that noise. And obviously he ruins it. Doesn't pull out a farmhouse and start shooting me or anything. He's just like, Daddy. I'm like, oh, hi. You found me, you little scamp.
Isn't it the child that's meant to be playing in the boxes, not the father in the room? So Cassian's just sat there with his arms crossed, just watching the TV, and you're crawling around the floor in a box.
He could very well be that one that he knows exactly what's going on, and he's playing along just to entertain me the entire way through.
He's playing you.
Yeah, he's playing me. So Dad's at it again. In the box again. I'll pretend I can't see him. I'll just watch some...
Where's he gone?
I'll just watch some TV for half hour.
Let him entertain himself in the corner. Spencer, how about yourself?
I don't really have one as funny as Davies or anything that's like day to day that comes into use. The only thing I have is a genuine thing, which was, I'm fairly sure the reason I learned how to skate was because of Skate 3. And that was it. my mum got me that game, started playing it, and I was like, oh, this game's easy. Skating must be easy. Started skating, and I was like, oh, fuck. Started scraping my knees, hurting my arse, landing on my hands. Mess. But then you get the hang of skating, you think, it's not as easy as the game. But because the game's so fun, you persevere. And then you want to be as good as you are in the game, which is literally impossible, because the best skaters in the world are about the level of Skate 3. The people in that, not even. Skate 3 is insane. It lies. Every skating game lies. But that's the goal. And the reason I learned how to skateboard was because of that game. And I'm struggling to think of any other examples, but that's the main one for me, I think.
What was the craziest trick you ever attempted, Spence? Not landed, but what's the trick that you thought, yeah, I could probably do this?
I only tried it once. I didn't try it again because it hurt. And it was literally maybe like 2 weeks after I learned how to kickflip. So I wasn't even good at kickflips. But I thought, what's the best way to get it down? Go balls to the wall. I tried to do a kickflip down a 12-step.
Jesus Christ. How did that go?
It didn't go well. It was the kind of thing where, use my legs. I ollie, kick the board out. Board spins, starts, leering off a little bit. I land, I see the board moving from under my feet. I'm like, fuck. Kind of move my legs to try and just stick the landing. One foot lands on the floor, other on the skateboard, and it kind of made me do the splits.
Oh.
And then just eat shit all the way down 12 steps with a lot of force as well. And then it was just like, nope, not trying that again.
Jesus Christ. Fair dues for even landing a kickflip, mind. That was way out of my wheelhouse when I was playing Tony Hawk's 2.
I think skating and skating games has got a lot to answer for, really, to encourage us to try and do some of these techniques and maneuvers, because my example was exactly the same as yours, Spencer. So we probably should talk about these things before we ask them live on the show. But anyway, I'll talk about my experience with copying Tony Hawk's. My example relates to how much I lied to myself when I was a kid, because I thought I was so much better than I actually was. I used to go down the Caldecott skate park and I was skating around, and in my head I had Goldfinger, I had Primus, I had Dead Kennedys banging away, and I thought I was Tony Hawk. But literally, what was I doing? I was now and again landing an ollie. And that's how sad that was. That was my skating career. I spent a lot of money on the skating garb. I had loads of different boards that I spent money on. And what could I do? I could go along. I maybe could ollie up a curb. So yeah, Spence, you not being able to land a kickflip was so much better than my experience.
Fair plays to both of you, mind. The best thing, I did skating for about 3 years. And all I mastered was what I used to dub the board ride, which was going along. And I used to literally just go along and then shout board ride. And that was all I would do. And then occasionally do a grab off a curb. And that was it. That was literally it. I think I landed an ollie 3 times in my entire skating career. And that was on that bouncy stuff that you get in a park, like underneath swings so kids don't wreck themselves. I could land them on there, never anywhere else. Impossible anywhere else.
I did exactly the same thing, and I landed. What's the one where you flip the board round sideways and land?
Pop shove it.
I landed a pop shove it on that, and I thought I was a king. No one else saw it. Everyone else was drinking, because generally when I went out to skate, we'd have cans of beer in our pockets, and we'd just go out to drink, really. Skate to somewhere that was a bit secluded, and just have a couple of beers when you might have been underage. I don't know. Can't confirm that one. And then I landed one of those, but there's no evidence. So take that as you want.
Well, there was no phones back in our day, so you could say something, and people would probably believe it. The problem was, I did on that spongy stuff, I did land a pop shove it. Like, legit landed a pop shove it. I landed a couple, actually, outside. I could hardly ollie, but I could do a pop shove it fairly consistent. And that was my only trick. So as soon as somebody got on the board and they were like, oh, show us what you got, do a pop shove it, they'd be like, oh, that's great. And then that would be it then. They'd be like, oh, show us what else. Don't feel like it, mate. Don't like showing off. Never again. Because all my mates could do everything. They could kickflip consistent. They could do literally everything. They were so sick. And I was just that guy that would just skate around and just hold the sandwiches.
When I was skating, it wasn't a high level at all. And the people around me weren't much better. And it kind of confuses me why Caldecott got its own skate park then. Because there were so many skaters, but none of us were very good or any good at all. So maybe things have progressed a little bit by the time your age sort of broke through the ranks a little bit.
I think the problem was it was your generation fucking drinking down underneath the slide or whatever with your skateboards by your side. The council think, fuck, just bin these kids off. Get them somewhere, please. Because my generation, I got down to the skate park and there was all you guys standing around with your cans. And I thought, it's a bit rough, this. I think I'll go back up to the spongy bit on the park where I can skate on my own with a load of 5-year-olds who love watching Pop Shove-Its.
I don't have like many great things I did skating. They were mostly like ollies on stuff, like down a couple curves, up a couple curves. But I think my favourite memory of it was I was just skating through Cardiff and we were about to head home. We were heading for the train and we saw 2 people skating. I was with my group and then it was just 2 people. I'm friends with them now, John and Jack. Lovely people. If you're listening, shout out. But they challenged us to skate on the way home, game of skate. And one of them did an ollie down the 3 steps. So they were like, could they ollie down 3 steps? They looked at us, they kind of sized us up. They were like, I don't think they look pretty good. So they were like, go on, I bet you could do it if you really try. And I rode towards it and I ollied up the 3 steps. And I just looked at their face, they were like, they were amazed. But the only issue was I could ollie really high and up stuff, but I always slightly turned when I ollied. So I'd like ollie up something and land 180 or land 90 degrees.
Isn't that depressing, Davey? Spencer is cracked on the sticks, and it turns out, back in the day, he was cracked on the board in comparison to us.
It makes me sick, it does. This whole being born at the top of Krakatoa, no matter what you try shit, it's getting old fast. It's getting really old fast. I think Spencer would be one of those kids that I never would have given him something that I was good at. Something that, you know, like a Rubik's Cube, right? I was always shit at Rubik's Cube. I bet you'd hand it to Spence out of nowhere, and he's like, what's this? This is a cool cube. And he'd just solve it. He'd be like, for fuck's sake. He'd be like, Jesus Christ, fuck it up for me again, please. I've been working on that for 2 years.
People with talent is horrible, isn't it? Really horrible.
Does my head in.
That happened to me when I was a kid, mind. My brother bought me Call of Duty 4, and the kid who lived around the block from me told me to take it back because he didn't want me playing it because he said I'd be better than him. My brother got me Halo 3 and COD 4, and he said, you can have Halo 3, I don't play Halo 3, but I want you to take back Call of Duty 4. And I was like, what the fuck? What a weird mindset to have as a kid.
What do you think is going to happen when we get Street Fighter 6, mate? I'll be telling you to go take it back, otherwise you're off the podcast. It's only a matter of time.
You're lucky. No, you're lucky because I don't lab, I refuse. So you'll win.
Oh, there you go. But speaking of Call of Duty, next weekend we got the beta, and that is where we put your bet to the test. So you'll bet that you'll do substantially better than myself and Phil. So let's see if all this exuberance, all this childhood good luck is coming to an end. And as you're getting older now, your skills are diminishing and you're getting down to our level. It's only a matter of time, baby. And you're going to be doing those shots.
One of us.
One of us. One of us. Well, guys, on that note, I think it's time to find out what we're drinking today. It is a Friday. It is a night to get bevved. I'm going to kick off today, and unfortunately, guys, I've got work in the morning. So I've got 3 Estrellas, and that is it. And then I'm on to the squash game. I'm on to a triple concentrate, nowhere near going in the 14 mark that the sorcerer himself's on. Sorcerer squash. I'm sticking on my 3 concentrate. Maybe a tropical. I've got an orange as well, so I got combos there. I might get a combo mix later on. I'll let you know how it is. What about yourself, Spence? What are you bringing to the table today?
Well, I keep forgetting I have work in the morning as well. Oh, kind of in the morning. It's at 12, so it's the middle ground, the perfect time. But it's me. Come on, I'm still on the buds. It's not relevant if I have work the next day. If you have buds to drink, they gotta be drank. When in Rome, got bevs on the dome. It is how it is. I had 5 buds. I've already necked 1 3/4. So I might be joining you on the squash soon with my perfect ratios of my 14 times. But until then, just on the classic reds.
Podcast standard. What about yourself, Filippo? Are you bringing up the reds as well? Red t-shirt, red beer, when in Rome, on the dome?
Well, Davey, I'm glad you asked. And yes, I am on the red. But I'm also mixing my drinks I'm on the blue because I'm running very low on Budweiser at the moment, and I've got a couple of cans of Bud Light, and I've got a couple of bottles of Budweiser Pure left to drink. So I'm going to mix them together. So I'm on Budweiser Purple tonight. Take that. Pow.
I like it. I like it. Let me know what the purple's like. It's got to be better than the blue. The blue is tragic.
What's the ratio for red to blue? What's the ratio? How do you make purple? What's the perfect amount?
One can to one bottle. That's the mixture.
Ooh, that's too much blue, I think. That'd be more of an indigo, I think. This might be a bit of a disaster. We'll have to stay tuned to the rest of episode 51 for the exciting talk about squash and Bud Purple. Fucking hell. Let's bring it on to what we've been playing.
This time on NPS We Trust, what have the boys been playing?
Okay, guys, so it's been 2 weeks since the last podcast episode, and I'm desperate to know what you've been up to in that time. Philip Hoy, I'm coming across to yourself first because you were knee-deep into Deathloop on the last episode. Have you finished it? Or if not, how are you finding the game?
Well, Davey, I'm glad you asked. I'm now 32 hours into Deathloop, and a quick Google earlier says it's around a 35-hour game, so I'm getting very, very close to the end. I've completed the vast majority of the visionary leads. I've only got a couple of Alexis missions to go. I've completed everybody else. And just before the podcast, I polished off the last Arsenal lead. So I got the shotgun and went through the very Saw-like traps that were set around the maps. And I've got all the slab upgrades, and I'm just getting all those ready now before I do the perfect loop and hopefully or potentially escape the island. Who knows? The story's getting very, very complex at the moment, I would say.
Obviously, it's a game I completed a long time ago when it first came out. And I rated it about an 8 out of 10 at the time, thinking that there was a couple of things that didn't quite hit for me compared to a lot of reviewers. With the story in particular, before we get into the wider context and your rating, how are you finding it?
Because I've taken quite a few pauses in between playing this game, it's kind of hard to piece together exactly what's going on. But obviously the overarching story is quite clear where we're heading. But the potential of it all going to pot is quite large at the moment, I think, on the island.
I found it had quite a lot of charm when I was playing it, especially with the powers that you've got. Now, I don't think you've played Dishonored, so it'd be a little bit of a different take for yourself than I had, because I had Dishonored, which I rate so highly, in my head, and it kind of clouded my vision of it. Going into this on a fresh playthrough with someone who's never played a game like this before, the gameplay-wise, are you finding it's got its hooks in you?
There's enough there to keep bringing me back, because as I said, I've taken a couple of different breaks throughout it, I think 3 or 4 now, but there's something about it that keeps bringing me back. As I said, I think on a previous podcast, I don't love this game. It's not Death Stranding, right? I'm not rating it a 10 out of 10. But at the same time, I don't hate it. It's got enough to keep me interested, and it's a game I want to complete. I want to see the end of this game. So if I was going to give it a rating, I'd probably stick to the 7 out of 10, purely because I don't love it. I wouldn't be recommending this game, because I think it's quite a different game from the games I really, really like.
7 out of 10. Fair dues. I mean, that's not far off what I was saying on mine. Do you think it would have made your game of the year last year? Into the top 5 discussion that we had?
It may have made the 5th kind of entry in that list, but I'm not sure. I don't exactly remember off the top of my head what I had as my 5th place, but yeah, it's an okay game. It's good enough. It's good enough. Like, I don't know if I'm going to go for the platinum for it, but it's all dependent on what you say next, Davey. Because I know you got the platinum for this, right? So are there any stinkers?
There's one trophy that's quite difficult. Not hard. It's a lovely list. The list is really, really nice. There's one trophy that's a little bit hard, and this isn't spoilers or anything. There's no spoilers in this. But you know where you find Alexis in his party?
Yeah.
Well, there's one trophy in there where you've got to kill 2 or 3 visionaries at the same time without being...
It's 2. 2 with 1 shot.
No, there's another one where you got to...
That's a trophy.
There's one where you got to do it without getting seen. You got to kill all of them without being seen, right?
Yeah.
And every level is fairly easy to do on a perfect loop without being seen. They're quite easy. So I was just going from one to the other, to the other, to the other. And then you get to Alexis, and that is hard. That is really hard. And the problem is you don't know sometimes whether or not you've been seen or not. So I was perfect on every single mission. Absolutely perfect. I knew I was. So I knew it was down to Alexis. And so I backed up my save so I could reload it, just so in case I fucked it up. And yeah, it turns out the moment after you've killed them all, you've done the business, and you're running back, the trophy only pops when you exit the level. So you don't know. So that entire run back, you're thinking, fuck, I can't get seen. And there's NPCs obviously you're avoiding. You can't get seen by anyone. So I was like, please don't get spotted, because I think I've done this perfect. I think I have. Please. And I was on voice chat to Spencer at the time. And I remember I was like, oh, God, I don't think I've done it, mate. Fuck's sake, I'm going to have to do it again. I thought I did that so well. And then you open the door, trophy pops. Ooh, it's a platinum, goes off, and you think, yes! Because it is so high. I'd recommend you try and give it a go. I really do. I think it was a really enjoyable platinum experience.
It's caught me out a few times, the game, because Juliana, when she gets involved, and I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, when she basically locks off the tunnels, she plants mines in front of the tunnel entrances. And if you don't see that alert and you go up and you try and open the door, there's mines around there. And it's killed me when I've been trying to exit the game after collecting like a slab or killing one of the visionaries. I've fallen into that trap multiple times throughout it. So I'd be so annoyed if I'd gone through the whole like set of visionaries, not been noticed, got back and either died at the end or something like that, or just got to the point and just pressed do another day. And then it's just looped round and you've lost all your guns or you've lost all your slab. It's happened to me. It's annoying, the game. There's loads of like weird things in it that just annoy me that it should give you a little bit more warning about, I think.
I think that's fair. You can always, you trade in your resource, don't you, to be able to unlock things for the entire time. So I think towards the end game, I had all my kit. I don't think I ever had to find anything else, but that was just because I knew what slab upgrades I wanted. I didn't really care about the rest, so I had my base stat all saved, and the rest of it was all in weapons, and that was how I kind of rocked.
One final question before we move on to Spencer. What weapons were you using? Because there's a particular gun that I absolutely love in the game, and I'm interested to see if you used it.
So I'm trying to think. I know I had the weapon where it's two pistols that then combine into like a triple, like a free burst machine gun.
That's a legendary gun, but it also turns into a rifle.
Brilliant. That was a great gun. I had a legendary sniper rifle that was great.
Yeah, got that one.
And then I had...
Doesn't kill in one shot though, does it? That's the annoying thing to the body.
Oh, it's got to go for head. Yeah, got to go for headshots. And then apart from that, I think I had, if I remember rightly, this gun that was kind of like a shotgun. But I think it had... I think it like either turned into like a massive machine gun. I can't remember now. It's another legendary gun. I had all legendaries, so it would be one that you have. And I remember it that it's like a shotgun, and then you do something, you like morph it, and it just becomes this just absolute machine of death. And I would literally just go into a fight, and I'd be mostly melee, to be honest with you. But I'd be shoot, melee, and just like slicing everyone's head off. And when you get all the powers, and you get like your speed upgrades, and you get your links, so you link everyone together, you can have so much fun in that world. And that's like kind of Dishonored gameplay in a nutshell, really. And when the game gives you that option to be able to just spread your wings and go for it, that was when I had the most fun with it. But I may be misremembering. I mean, this was back in November of last year, nearly a year ago now, since I last played it. So what kind of guns are you tickling your fancy right now?
So I've used all the same guns as you, and I think you are just talking about the 3 legendary guns. But you very much missed out a couple of gems. So there's a shotgun in it. It's called the 50-50 shotgun, which shoots twice every time you shoot. And it's an absolute beast. As soon as you get the upgrades to that gun, that becomes better than the legendary gun. There's also a pistol as well, which is basically like James Bond's golden gun, where it's a one-shot kill. And it's just perfect for when you're sneaking around the map. As soon as you've got is it ether slab that you have that makes you invisible? As soon as you've got that slab and you've got that pistol, you are basically invincible. Because you just fade into that slab. As soon as you're still, no one can see you. And you shoot, you flicker, but you always shoot in the head and you always kill them. So those are the guns that I'm using at the moment. And additionally, I use the dual pistols as well because it's a great get out of jail.
And they just look cool, don't they? Just the animation of like them flicking around and then combining just looks sick. I remember when I got that and I was like, oh, this is nice. So yeah, fully respect those choices.
They were the first legendary guns that I got in the game, so I had them quite early on, and I was absolutely loving them for a long, long time until I found these higher echelon of kind of lower level guns within the game. But it all depends on the upgrades you give them, which make them perfect, basically.
Nice. Phil, we were playing a couple of other games. We had a gaming night last night, actually, and we tried out Tribes of Midgard, which we sunk probably about an hour and a half into, I'd say. Probably not enough for us to really go on to it yet, but I will actually be looking forward to playing a bit more of it in the next couple of weeks. Don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah, I did enjoy it. I likened it when we were chatting online. That it was quite similar to sort of like a Rust kind of style game, where you have to build up resources and build up your character. But it has that kind of, I suppose, Fortnite-esque kind of layout to it as well in the menu structures. But yeah, definitely an interesting game that I'd like to revisit.
And then, of course, I went back, because I think this was your second time ever playing it, but I went back to what I spent most of my PS4 days on, and that was Apex Legends. We just decided COD's around the corner, got to get my Twitch skills up, so let's dive into a bit of Apex. And we played that then for the rest of the night. Top level thoughts, Phil? How are you finding the game? It's quite a lot to take in for newbies, I imagine.
Well, I absolutely dragged you and Willard down, didn't I, all night. I was that one in the team that didn't know what the hell they were doing. They were just pressing fire as quickly as they could as soon as they saw one. But I had fun, guys, and that's all that matters.
I had fun as well. So I'll look forward to getting the three of us, hopefully, maybe on a bit of Apex, maybe even later on tonight. We'll see what happens. See if we can finish this podcast early enough. Spencer, you are the guy that I want to come across to, because the games that I've been playing, really, they're on review on YouTube. Played a game called White Day, which is a PlayStation 5 re-release of a game that came out in 2001 originally. Check it out on my YouTube if you're interested. Survival horror, Korean-based game. And then been playing Dead Space, which I'm sure is going to come up in a spoilercast from the past, actually, very, very soon. If we ever get Half-Life done. Looking at you boys, seeing as I've already done it. Spencer, I want to come across to you and skip me because you've been playing The Last of Us Remake. First off, how are you finding it?
Bro, well, I mean, biased opinion, as all opinions are, it's my favourite game of all time. There's no way I wasn't going to adore this game. And I 100% do still adore this game. It is phenomenal. Oh my god. It's just, to me, it is one of the most perfect games ever made. And this remake, Last of Us Part 1, just amplifies it. It just makes it a better version of what it already was. I'm just loving every second of it. Every single time I have any spare time, I just want to get back into the game. And that's something I haven't really felt with video games in a long time. And granted, it's probably because it's my favorite game of all time, but I'm feeling that again. And I'm loving it.
Before we get onto the graphical upgrade, which obviously is the big thing, gameplay-wise, obviously when we talked before, and this was originally shown, I was very anti this, so was Phil, but I was extremely anti the fact that they hadn't included The Last of Us 2's features, and they said there was upgrades. Oh, we've upgraded the AI, now they won't walk into the fucking side of a crate anymore. Good job. Are you actually noticing any real difference when it comes to this game gameplay-wise? As you are so knowledgeable on the original.
I will say, I've got a list of some of the changes up now on my other screen. The AI, irrelevant. It's literally no better than it ever was. Maybe marginally, but the game has the issue which I assumed it would, which is it has this future prediction where it knows where an enemy's going to see when it turns a corner, and it preemptively moves out of the way of that line of sight. Does it fuck? It doesn't. There was one part where Ellie was literally, she was hiding all the way across a corridor from me. An enemy came out and started walking towards me. I was hiding ready to grab him. And right as he came up to me, Ellie just started running across straight to me. And she didn't even enter the door. She was just crouched in front of him. And then she came towards me, and I was just like, what are you doing? And they have the exact issue I thought they would, which is the future prediction really struggles when there's multiple enemies coming in at multiple angles.
I gotta say, that's really surprising to me in a way. Like, The Last of Us 2, when I think back to that, and granted, it could be that I'm looking back with, rose-tinted glasses on, and I'm thinking, yeah, everything was rosy in that. And that may well be the case, that I'm totally off kilter here, but I don't remember the AI ever walking in front of an enemy. And me thinking, oh, suspension of disbelief here. They haven't actually seen them. They're not a playable character. I don't ever remember that happening in The Last of Us 2. Whereas Last of Us 1, that was happening all the time. Ellie would be like standing there and be like, get the fuck down, Ellie. Like, I'm going to blast a hole through your head. Because there's enemies coming right next to you. So to hear that still happening in the original is a bit of a shame. But are you noticing more of the enemies actually being a bit smarter? Because I think sometimes reviewers, when they go in and they get a brief from a game dev, and he says, yes, we've changed the way this AI works. And they're like, you can really notice the AI differences. But you're someone that knows this game. Like, you know this game. Like, you played it more times than you have any right to, really. Are you saying, then, that there isn't really any difference on a meaningful level?
There's zero difference. There's literally no difference. The enemy AI, they do the thing where, I can't remember if they did this in the original game, but they definitely did it in part 2, where you can, say you wipe out a squad of enemies, there's one left, and like you shoot him in the leg or in the arm, he'll go down and be like, oh, forgive me, I'm sorry. And then you batter him in the head or blast him or whatever, because come on, they're always going to get up and try to shoot you. You always blast them in one. And then Ellie's like, geez, Joel. And that's what happens. But aside from that, which might have been in the original, I honestly can't remember, there's no improvements in terms of AI. Literally none. There was one section, cue the Bug Hunter theme.
When walls are spinning all around you, you can't properly aim your gun. You find you're falling through the world. I'll hunt you down 'cause you're a bug. I find the bugs, the big bad bugs. The Bug Hunter.
So, speaking of the AI, the section where you're with Bill and you're trying to get a car, you traverse through a school. Big spoilers, but if you haven't played The Last of Us, come on, grow up.
Yeah, you could spoil this game. This game is 10 years old by now.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Come on, unless you were like waiting for part 1, which is insane. You're a fool. I've beaten this game like 7 times by now. Come on, grow up. You traverse through a school after finding the car had the part you needed missing. You traverse through school to try escape at that point and try get to, just a safe place. And there was one point where I was a bit too efficient in my traversal, and Bill was way back behind me. And when I turned to go into a room, I visibly saw Bill teleport. He teleported to me to catch up to me.
That's quite lame. That's quite lame. Oh man, my guy, what he didn't realize is that Bill wasn't sat in a little village, rigging the place up. He was actually on Yard Rat. So what he learned instant transmission. That's what you didn't realize. And you're just seeing that in real time. The power of the SSD, you're able to see instant transmission now, whereas before it was too low frame rate. Is that the only one that you've come across so far, or anything a little bit bigger?
There were quite a few. I'm trying to think of exactly what they are now. That was probably the biggest one.
The one, I don't know if it's still in there, but the one I remember always having on PS3 and on PS4 remastered as well, always had to do with the crates. There was always some issue that I came into with the crates where, like, Joel, where you're pushing Ellie along and then she wouldn't be able to jump up on the side, or she'd like start kind of falling through it a little bit. That seemed to happen quite a lot on PS3.
Oh, on the pallets.
Yeah, on the pallets, yeah. Did you have anything like that?
Yeah, I haven't had that. I haven't had any situations where it was Ellie falling indefinitely. I had one where I walked off a ledge. You know, you can kind of go towards a ledge and Joel does this little lean and then he falls off. And it's the same kind of glitch you can do in literally any video game where you can jump or fall onto stuff, where you land on the geometry just wrong and your character just falls indefinitely. I did that exact thing with Joel and he was stuck there for maybe like 8 to 10 seconds, just going, but then he was fine, because he's just fine. I don't think there's actually fall damage in this game. It's either you survive or you die, and it was just a case where I survived, so that was good, beneficial. This, what was the other bug? I've encountered like 6 bugs. There's been quite a few, but nothing really game breaking. Other than I've seen bugs that are consistent as well. People are able to get out the map and stuff. People are able to get out of bounds in this game. It's bad, and there's like consistent places to do it, but I haven't encountered that myself. Would you like me to discuss the negatives of the game?
Spencer, I thought we'd already been discussing the negatives when I thought the gameplay would be it, but I would love to hear your full unbridled opinion on this, because you know my stance. I'm not buying this game. I refuse to support it. I will borrow it off you when you finish with it, when you've got your platty or whatever you're going to do with it. I'll borrow it at that point, play it before end of year to see if it even gets an honorable mention. I want to know your full opinion on this game. Please let rip. And I'm sure Phil's got a number of questions that he wouldn't mind asking you as well afterwards.
1 or 2, but you carry on, guys. You chat amongst yourselves.
Okay, so my first thing I'll say is graphically, during cutscenes, this game is unrivaled. It is gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. But I think in terms of maybe not even gameplay, the gameplay might look better than Last of Us Part 2, but in terms of the contrast between the cutscene and the gameplay quality, the cutscenes look such a higher level than the gameplay, in my opinion, where it makes Last of Us Part 2 kind of look better overall, because the cutscenes look like the game. They look exactly the same. Whereas you'll watch a cutscene in this game, Part 1, and you'll see Ellie's face, and she looks gorgeous. It looks amazing. She's a child. But graphically, she looked gorgeous. And then it cuts to gameplay, and you can try get a close-up of her face if you walk up to her. It does not look anywhere near on the same level. The game does look gorgeous. It's amazing. But the cutscenes are such a step above that the gameplay can't keep up, in my opinion.
That brings me on to asking you how you play in this. What did you choose? Did you choose a resolution or did you choose a frame rate?
This might be a factor into it. I chose the frame rate, as always, perfect performance mode.
That could be it, though. That really could be the difference in that. Because, you know, it's 40 frames, isn't it, if I remember rightly, if you're playing under the fidelity setting. Whereas then you're playing in 60 with, I think it's a checkerboard 4K. I don't think it's a full 4K. I think if memory serves, it's checkerboard 4K, so it's not full. There's no ray tracing in either one, which is really surprising to me. I don't know if you want to fact check me on that one, but I'm pretty sure it's the difference between it being a checkerboard or a full true 4K and like a checkerboard dynamic 4K.
Yeah, performance offers a balanced resolution frame rate with a dynamic 4K resolution that largely targets 60 FPS. And fidelity is native 4K with 30 FPS.
30, is it? I thought it was 40.
So
30.
If it was 40 FPS, if it was 40, I'd be playing on fidelity because 40 is good. It's not 60, but it's good. It's good enough. 30 FPS, I can't. And with me as a person, I always play games on performance mode. I will never choose fidelity unless it's 40 or above. So this is how the game will look to me. And it doesn't look as good as the cutscenes do. It still looks stunning. Still a beautiful game. Not on par. That's fine. aside from the graphics, new features, the gameplay, the DualSense features we'll go on to, the haptics and the adaptive triggers, not great. They are both so subtle that you barely ever even notice them. The haptics, there was a part of the game where it was raining, and I could feel it to it was kind of like Astros. Say Astros is a 10, this was dialed down to 1. It's so extremely subtle. It's there, and it's kind of nice, but it's too subtle to be great.
So are you saying the rain is worse than it is in... Well, I say worse, like as if it's bad. In Returnal, I thought they did rain really well on that. Because you can really notice it on the pad, I thought. I thought it was a great way of using the triggers and using the haptic feedback for the things that are in there. Is it done more subtle than that is with the rain? Which you only really notice when you stop?
I would say so, yeah. I'd say it's 100% more subtle. I think the haptics are fine, but they've dialed them down so much that you know they're there, but they're not really enhancing your experience. And then the adaptive triggers are kind of the same story, where I think out of all the PS5 games that use adaptive triggers, I think this is the second worst usage other than Demon's Souls, which exclusively had adaptive triggers on the bow. This game has adaptive triggers on all of it, but they're fine, they're there, but after experiencing games like Returnal, like Ratchet, like even Village had adaptive triggers way better than this. You know they're there and they're nice, but similar to the haptics, they don't actually enhance the experience, in my opinion. Maybe the bow, because the bow actually has tension in the triggers, but everything else is just kind of an unsatisfying usage.
I tell you what, that's a real damn shame. I can't believe we're still at this point in the PlayStation 5 generation where the standouts are the games that, you know, Astro, I mean, was incredible, but even moving away from first-party Sony games, Call of Duty does haptics right every single year. It does haptics right, it does triggers right. They're so good and satisfying that I can understand why people turn them off if you're super sweaty, but I never feel it's a detriment. I always feel it enhances my gameplay experience. And that's what I think these features can do. And when you see a studio like Naughty Dog where it's kind of, they're going in so low key on it, and there's not an option in the settings that you can turn it up, you can dial up the intensity or anything like that, as far as you know.
There are options to dial up the intensity of haptics and adaptive triggers, but they're defaulted to max.
Oh no.
So I'm playing them on max intensity, and it can't get higher.
That is a damn shame, because that was the only thing that when we looked at that trailer, that gameplay breakdown, I was thinking, right, well, they're making a big deal out of this. They're bound to be good, you know, they're bound to be on the level. So to hear they're not is actually a real damn shame.
I think it's kind of up to opinion. I think other people could have different views on the adaptive triggers and the haptics. I think a lot of people are actually in support of them and think they're very good, but they're just too subtle for my liking, especially whereas I guess the adaptive triggers, when using, say, the shotgun, which is a great weapon, I'm using it all the time, you can find so much ammo for it, it's insane. My weapon's actually broken. The fact the adaptive triggers in unison with the controller making the reloading sound and stuff would be awesome. I'm sure it'd make it that extra little bit more satisfying. But when you play this game with headphones, which you have to really to utilize the new 3D audio, you're not hearing that shotgun sound unless you have shit headphones. So you're either missing out on one feature or missing out on the other. And that's kind of not an issue of the game. That's an issue of them choosing to make the reload sounds come through a lower quality speaker on the controller rather than just going through your ears. And sure, the sound's still there, but they put effort into the one coming out the speakers.
That's what always blows my mind, though, is whenever I've played like any game that we love, like say Returnal or whatever, and you play it without headphones on, and you realize how much noise that handset's making that you just never pick up on, and it does enhance the experience. It really does. Christ, I'm talking about it every single time. My son is still obsessed with Astros. It's doing my head in. I'm sick to death of the game. I'm actually sick. I never want to see it ever again. Yet I play it every day, literally every day. The same ice level, the same amount of times he rolls around the snow to create a snowman every goddamn day. I'm sick to death of it, but playing without headphones on, you really, really pick up on when every single step is timed on there when you walk on the ice. And it does enhance the experience. You think, oh yeah, actually, it really makes these haptics feel pronounced. And it does add an element to it. I totally agree with you. When you use headphones on, it's a damn shame they haven't quite got that yet, where you can have both experiences in tandem with each other. And a lot of games you can turn off the sound coming through on the controller, and it does then add a little bit to the headphones, but it's not the same. It isn't the same. I do think that is a bit of a shame. But do you know what? I'm really surprised to hear all that negativity from some of the features that I thought were going to be an absolute knockout for this game. Phil, I'm going to pass it over to you before we go on any further. Please, any questions, fire them away at Mr. Spencer Davis.
Thank you, guys. So, Spence, I was going to ask you about, the in-game trophies. I was going to ask you about the costumes. I was going to ask you, how does Ellie look in a In PS We Trust t-shirt? I got that in the game. I sorted that out with Naughty Dog. But this review has been pretty damning so far. So let's make things simple. And I don't want a Davey monologue here. It's a simple question. Does this game improve the experience? I've played the remastered game once on PS4. Absolutely love it. I rate it. But the question is The Last of Us remake worth £70?
I'll start my answer by saying I paid 60. So, £10 off right there, bargain. This game, I would argue, is worth the money if it's your first time playing the game, or if you're a diehard fan of the game like me. I'd say yes, it's worth experiencing it again in this new bit of paint that it's been given. For anyone else, absolutely fucking not. The remaster is so good already, and as much as this game's so much more beautiful, you get that core experience in both other versions of this game. This remake is not necessary to become a fan of this series or this game. You get the full experience regardless. This is just kind of a nicer looking way to get the same experience, which is what it's intended to be. But it's not worth 60 quid. To me it was, and it would have been worth more. If the Firefly edition was in stock, I'd have gotten that for 100 quid. But it wasn't. So I understand how people can kind of bag on this game, how people don't like it. I think it's a release that's targeted at a very specific audience, being the diehard fans and the people who are yet to become fans. And for them, yes, it's worth it. For anyone else, just save your money, buy a different game. I mean, I love the series, but I wouldn't recommend it to anyone who's played it before.
After replaying this, which game do you prefer, Last of Us 1 or 2?
I haven't finished the game yet. I've been very much spending time with the game. Because I know about all the enhancements, I'm very much trying to explore every nook and cranny of every room, of every area, of every chapter of the game. I am 6 to 7 hours in, and I'm only just leaving when you first encounter the hunters, where you first give Ellie a gun. I've been trying to deep dive into this game, and I could beat this game in 4 to 5 hours. I did that on the remaster, but I'm trying my best to take time and appreciate what they've changed. That being said, after seeing all these changes, I've always thought Part 2 was a better game. But I've always preferred Part 1 because Part 2 overstays its welcome. However, I'm spending a lot of time with this game, and it might end up equaling the game time of Part 2. So at the minute, I think I honestly might favour Part 2.
Wow. The reason why I wanted to ask that is because obviously not hindsight, but nostalgia is so important, and it's so important to, your overall takes on games and how you feel. And that's why getting like a newer brand new experience where you go in like kind of full of wonder and full of, wide-eyed joy, and then comparing that to how you played the second one, which of course, it won our Game of the Year on our first ever year of this podcast. Yeah. I think, Spence, you've gone over and above on this, and people may think, oh, we're hating on this game or anything, or they may think we're being overly critical. But to be honest, we're a PlayStation podcast, and for everything that Sony does right, it does drop the ball. And when it does, we got to give our take on it, whether or not we like it, whether or not we love it. And I think, Spence, you've been really fair on this. You've summed up who it's for, who it's not. And it's something that I'll look forward to playing when you finish with it. But from the sound of it, it isn't going to change my opinion on it. Now let's move it on to quick news. Quick news. So here we are, quick news. Welcome to quick news. Today's theme is going to be whatever the fuck you want. Literally whatever. Freedom. The big F. Freedom. Not the F word, Spencer. Whatever you want to bring to the table, guys, go for it. Anything. Movies, TV, random video game characters, political figures. Be my guest. Philip Hoy, I'm coming across to yourself. For your impression, I would like an impression of Deacon St. John, please, from Days Gone, if you don't mind. Revenge. You thought it was over with Spencer. It wasn't. It's coming back, baby. Give me a Deacon St. John, please.
No problem. I can do an impression of a game I've never played. Quick news. Welcoming Savage Game Studios to PlayStation Studio family. Who, you ask? Well, they have offices in Berlin and Helsinki, and they put players first. The co-founders had a hand in the mobile franchise Clash of Clans and Angry Birds, but outside that, I have nothing else to tell you about this studio. So if you're excited about this new acquisition, like I am, obviously, then you'll be keeping an eye out for what they can bring to the PlayStation family. Spencer, we know you absolutely love an impression. So I'm going to give you an easy one. I'm going to throw you a big juicy bone. I want an impression of Ada Wong, known for being quite sexy. So let's have it. I know we got quite a lot of females that watch the show now. I think we're on around, 25% last time I looked at the analytics? So let's see you. Let's sex it up slightly. Let's see some Ada Wong.
I'm looking up quotes. Not gonna lie to you. I'm looking up quotes right now. I have no idea what she says. Alright, the first quote that comes up on this Ada Wong quotes at Ada Wong quotes by Ada Wong fan account. The first quote that comes up is, I see you've been doing your homework. Quick news. So, announced on 2K's Twitter. This coincided with Mafia's 20th anniversary. They have announced a brand new entry in the series is currently in development. We don't really have any more news other than that, but we'll keep our ears on the subject, and we assume you will too. Davey. My impression for you, seeing as we can kind of reach out to anywhere, it's quite a simple one really, and everyone and their nan has practiced this. I just want to hear your best Batman, mate. But I want to see you get into character.
That's lightning, by the way, not bombs. This rain dropping. Hey, are we gonna do this drug deal or what? What, in the middle of the street? Yeah, the bat's not out. The bat's busy with other things. And then in the shadows. He's like sneaking. He comes up, throws the cape, like Arkham, gets one. Swear to me! Quick news. Just wanted to chuck in a swear to me quote from the iconic Batman Begins. Assassin's Creed Mirage is the next Assassin's Creed game. Who would have thought it? Now, we're going to learn more about this on the September 10th, which is the day after us recording, it's going to be shown at Ubisoft Forward. So you guys will already know all the details. From what we know at the moment, Assassin's Creed Mirage seems like the kind of Assassin's Creed game that would get me back to the series. So from what we've known in rumors is that the game is a return to form for stealth-based Assassin's Creed. Yes, please. I don't want any of this RPG bollocks. I'm not interested in it. Take me back to what we used to have back in the early 2000s. Sign me up. I'll speak more about it next episode. Philip Hoy, I'm coming back round to yourself. Going to come round for a doubler. Now, I know how good you are at movies. I know you love a movie. You've watched so many movies. It's unbelievable. And I'm not gonna tuck you up. I could, if I want to tuck you up, I'd make you do an Arnie impression or someone that you actually don't know, because I remember your RoboCop was absolutely unbelievable. I want you to give me your best impression. Oh, I got my background changing in the background. Nice. What have we got? Hypnotic yellow. I want your best impression of Starscream from the Transformers movie. A movie you know very well. Throwing you a bone here, mate. I went revenge, and now I'm giving you a gift. Build you back up before I smash you back down again with something else.
Okay, I don't want to embarrass myself, so I would like to get the exact quote, all right? I can do his voice pretty well. Oh, how it pains me to do this. Wait, I still function. Wanna bet? Starscream. Quick news! Konami is about to unveil an unknown game in a world-loved franchise at this year's Tokyo's Game Show, which takes place September 15th to 18th. Which game do you think they will be unveiling, lads? This one's a bit of a question mark for me.
For me, if I'm starting off, Konami. We got so many great franchises. I've got to go with Metal Gear. I know it's not going to be. I know it's not going to be. There's one that's easy, that's been rumoured already, we spoke about so many times, but I'll save that for Mr. Spencer Davis. I wonder what that could be. I'm throwing my hat in here. I would adore this to be Metal Gear. And the reason why, my only little tickler, that's tickling my bits right now and saying that it could be this, is because Kojima-san himself is tweeting out loads about Metal Gear Solid recently. Like, absolutely loads. Tweeting all the history, tweeting what he got up to with development, tagging in Konami. And I was like, ooh, this is off. This is off base. This isn't normally what Kojima would be doing. I think it's about time we see it come back. And I reckon it's about time we see that rumour of Metal Gear Solid 1 Remake coming back. This is perfect time. What do you reckon, Spence?
I think, and I'm actually going to divert expectations here. I'm not going to go for what you all think. I think it's something way crazier than that. I think everyone's going to be blown away. I think it's going to be Silent Hill. I mean, let's be honest. What's it probably going to be? It's probably going to be Silent Hill, isn't it? Let's be honest. We've seen pictures of the game looking finished. Come on. If there's anything else, I'll do no, I won't. I'm not going to say that. Not now. This is not when it adds up to the 10th episode. If there's anything worse, I'll have a good day.
So anticlimactic. So do you think it's going to be a remake, or do you reckon it's going to be Silent Hill 2? Because both now have been heavily rumoured. In fact, there was a couple of screenshots that went up of Silent Hill 2, which, for some reason, whenever people share screenshots, it's always on 360p. It's like, UFO or Bigfoot picture, where all of a sudden everyone's only got Kodak. No one's got a smartphone with like a 4K capable camera on anymore. It's always blurry as shit. So those pictures went up for Silent Hill 2, and I was like, okay, of course this is a genuine leak. Looks like a PS2 mod. It was unreal. Which version do you reckon it's going to be? The new one or the apparently Bloober Team Silent Hill 2 remake?
I think it'd probably be is it a remake or reboot? It's reboot, right?
Well, the reboot is like the brand newer one, the one with like Minga written on her face and stuff that we spoke about like about 10 episodes ago now, quite a while ago.
Oh, yeah.
You think is that one
Yeah, I think it's that.
nice? I think that's a pretty safe bet, to be honest with you.
We talked about it a long time ago, and those were like full quality images we saw of finished looking models and textures. It's about time they at least show it, because that people have announced stuff way earlier in development than that looked, and we still haven't seen it.
I think that's a pretty safe bet. What about yourself, Phil? Where are you coming down on with this one?
Well, it's a difficult one for me, guys, because obviously you've picked the two most well-known franchises for Konami. But we're talking about a world-loved franchise, okay? So the only other one that really springs to my mind is Super Bomberman. It came up in the quiz twice, actually. I think we answered the same question that Spencer posed to us with the same answer, completely independent. So it must be on our minds. It must be implanted somewhere by Konami that Super Bomberman is coming back. And that's what I'm putting my name to.
Well, fair dues. Well, it's pretty telling that none of us are going for Castlevania. None of us think it's going to be Castlevania coming back at all, which is a damn shame. But who knows? Maybe we'll have our expectations rocked. And of course, we'll be talking about this on the next episode of the podcast, because it will be out before our next episode gets to recording. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, Spence. Now, you didn't do too well with Ada Wong. So let's play towards your wheelhouse. And I know you love Disney. So I'm going to pick a character, and I want an impression. My favourite Disney is The Lion King / Aladdin. I like a bit of both. Now I want to hear your best impression of Scar from The Lion King.
Okay, my quote, Scar. See him in my mind, visualize. Visualize, I see him. He's pointing at Mufasa's fingers. He's kind of pulling them off the cliff. And then Mufasa starts falling. You can see it in your mind. I don't even need to visualize it because everyone's seen it. If I say close your eyes and imagine Mufasa falling, you can see it in your mind. So I'm going to say, everyone join me for this moment. Close your eyes, visualize Mufasa falling. This is the dumbest shit I've ever done. Everyone, are you ready? Can't even remember what he sounds like. Long live the king. Quick news. I was at, do you see Mufasa? I don't want to know how it was. I'll find out later. Quick news. Sony have bought up a portion of From Software. So I think everyone's kind of known it would be in Sony's best interest to buy FromSoft a long time ago. But they took their time. And currently, Six Joy Hong Kong owns 16.25% of FromSoft. Sony now owns 14.09%, and Kadakawa Corporation remains the largest shareholder of the company with 69.66% of shares of FromSoft. So although this gives Sony some influence in FromSoft, it doesn't give them direct control. So we're probably not going to be seeing the next Dark Souls exclusive to PlayStation, but we might be seeing Bloodborne 2. Could we ask for much more? I don't think so. Davey, my impression for you. I'm going to choose your favourite character, whom you even have a statue of. I'd like to hear your best impression of All Might from My Hero Academia.
Oh, it's going to be difficult because I only watch Japanese. Only watch the Japanese dub. Okay. Detroit door! Smash! Quick news. Guys, this is serious news. This has been doing the rounds on Twitter. Jim Ryan has thrown shade on Phil Spencer from Xbox. That is the head honcho of PlayStation versus Phil Spencer. And it's regarding the Activision acquisition, which is undergoing at the moment, as we all know. Now, this deal is currently undergoing intense scrutiny from regulators because they are fearing it's going to breach monopoly rules. So each of them have been called into court. They're talking through their case, saying where they stand on it. And this is what Jim Ryan went to the media on. This is his quote, word for word. I hadn't intended to comment on what I understood to be a private business discussion, but I feel the need to set the record straight because Phil Spencer brought this into the public forum, Ryan said. Microsoft has only offered for Call of Duty to remain on PlayStation for 3 years after the current agreement between Activision and Sony ends, which is, of course, next year. 2 years' time, sorry. After almost 20 years of Call of Duty on PlayStation, their proposal was inadequate on many levels and failed to take account of the impact on our gamers. We want to guarantee PlayStation gamers continue to have the highest quality Call of Duty experience, and Microsoft's proposal undermines this principle. So of course, guys, I want your opinions on this, because Microsoft, as this stands, said they'd honour it for another 3 years after the agreement ends, which is equivalent to 2 Call of Duty games, because it's going to a biannual series from here on out, and then they'd make it exclusive to Xbox and the Xbox ecosystem, taking it away from PlayStation, which is exactly what I was saying when this deal went through I would do if I was running Xbox, because it's the smart thing to do, even if you are throwing your money away. Guys, thoughts on this? Philip Hoy, I'm going to come across to you first. Initial reaction, thoughts. Give them to me.
I'm not the biggest COD fan, but I know COD has been a staple for years on PlayStation. And it'll be a massive shame if they do take it away at any stage. I don't think it's the wisest thing from a business point of view to make this exclusive in any way. And for them to say it remains only for 3 years after the current agreement between Activision and Sony, I still find that crazy. I don't know why they wouldn't extend it.
What about yourself, Spence?
I mean, I love Call of Duty. I love the series. I play it every single year. I buy it, I platinum it, I put so many hours into it, and I love it every time. But as much as it'd suck to not have it anymore, who am I to blame Microsoft for wanting to keep it to themselves? If Sony had acquired them, Sony wouldn't have even given them 3 years. Sony would have locked it up frame one. Why shouldn't Xbox? As much as it sucks because it's not the system I play on, we acquire developers out the wazoo, and we make games exclusive all the time. Why shouldn't Xbox?
I've got a quick question for you guys. If this did happen and Call of Duty went exclusive, are you buying an Xbox to play it?
Yeah. Yeah, I would. I actually would. This is the kind of thing that Call of Duty now has become something that's such a staple for me. It's something that I really look forward to every single year. And I may get it, I may play it for 3 months of the year, but those 3 months are class. They are so much fun, and I'm not interested on playing on PC. I know I could get PC Game Pass and play that way, but I'm not that guy. It's too much work. I can't be asked to update drivers. I can't be asked to go through all that, sync a pad up, figure out my dead zones. I can't be bothered. I just want to put it in. It does the job for me. And if that costs me 250 quid to do, I will do it. I don't want to press Control-Alt-Delete, close game. I don't want to double click to open a game. I don't want to do any of that bollocks. What do I play it on? Can my system run it on Ultra? Can it run it on Pro? Can it run it? I don't know. I don't care. I just want to be able to put it in and it work. And that's why I play on console. And so, yes, I would do that.
I love it when you talk about PC games. Absolutely love it. We need to encourage this much, much more. Incredible stuff. I need to update drivers. When was the last time you did anything on a PC? Ever played a game on a PC?
I played Halo Infinite on PC, and it didn't work with controller. It just flat out refused to work. My guy was spinning in circles, and so I had to go in and custom the dead zones, and then it would accelerate out of nowhere, so it became unplayable. And then I tried doing WASD, and it was unbelievable to me. I couldn't do it. So I did what I used to do on Alien vs Predator 2 when I played that online on PC, and I put it all to the directional buttons. Up, down, left, right.
Up, down, left, right.
And it was just, I didn't have enough buttons to deal with. And so I was like, do you know what? Fuck this. I'm not about this life. I'm not built for this. I'm just not. So I know my limits as a player, and I am not like Spencer's material. I'm not Krakatoa level when it comes to PC. I know where I am. I know where I live, and that's console, and that's the way I am.
That's the thing about PC gaming. You need a certain level of intelligence to be able to use WAS and D instead of up, down, left, right.
It's too much. There's too many buttons around it that I could accidentally hit. And I'm not about that. But the guys, the reason why I wanted to bring this up as like a big piece of news is because with Phil Spencer, he's the master of going out there and pulling the press and pulling the public and pulling the wool over their eyes and saying that we want games everywhere. We're a company that's going to make sure more gamers can play our games. And what do? They buy up the biggest fucking publisher in the world. They buy up Activision and then make those games now, as far as we're finding out, not for everyone, not for everywhere, just for their ecosystem. And then when you combine this with Bethesda, that gets me really worried. Because I've been thinking for a while that Doom, Wolfenstein, that they're not going to be coming out. And then I thought, well, maybe they will, because it makes business sense to still release it on the rival platform, but you've got the sweetener there with the Xbox Game Pass there being the, why buy it on PlayStation for $70 when you can come across to us for free, or for your annual subscription cost? And that's what I thought they were going to go down. But seeing this, where they're like, no, let's completely shut down the competition and take away a game, Call of Duty, which has such a lineage on PlayStation, such a lineage, where it's the dominant platform, because obviously it's the biggest console in the PlayStation. So then say, do you know what? Fuck you 120 million people that play on PlayStation 4. Screw you. Screw all the people that play on PlayStation 5. This game's going to be the biggest game of the year. No questions asked. It'll sell way more than God of War will in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And say, oh, our future ones, you guys ain't getting it. I think if this was something that was Microsoft's own thing, their own IP, their brand new project being done by the Call of Duty team, cool. Make that exclusive, lock it down, keep it off. Totally understand it. But for something that has a lineage like this, to be able to say, we're going to support you, we haven't forgotten about you, PlayStation gamers, Xbox may be our preferred platform, but we'll look after you. We'll make sure you're okay. Coming out on Twitter saying all this shit. And then actually the reality is, 3 years' time, see you fucking later, lads. I think that this kind of thing just really narrows down to me and just tells me what I already knew, which is a case of it's purely a business. And if you think that Sony were the only people doing this shit where they get this exclusivity deals and they lock it down, wake up. Because it's everywhere. And it's dog eat dog. And I will be amazed, absolutely amazed, if they don't walk this back. Because when you set the precedent of being that we're a paragon of gaming, we're the good guys here, and then it turns out actually you're just as shitty as everyone else, that harms your image. And I'm really glad that Jim Ryan's come out and said this, because it just shows that Microsoft are exactly what we all thought they were going to do. Exactly what they thought they were going to do. It's a business. They want to win. They want to take down the competition, and this is the easiest way to do it. Flash, Big Daddy Microsoft, Big Daddy Word, his money, put that out there, and buy up these companies to really shut down the competition. I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's right that they should be buying publishers, and I don't want to see Xbox struggle, but I think a company the size of Activision, like I said at the time, should not be on the fucking market. Should not be on the table for any of these publishers, any of these console manufacturers to own. It's too big. It's too much. And as soon as we start rotting away all our third-party support, we're going to have nothing left. It's the same reason why I don't want Sony to buy Capcom. I don't want anyone to own these companies. It should be games for everyone. And unfortunately, guys, it looks like that could be long gone.
It'll be interesting to see how those numbers are reflected once they do pull the plug on PlayStation, and see if that jumps up in and relates to console sales of Xbox. You know, I was only talking to an Xbot this morning, and he was claiming that Call of Duty was going to be coming as part of the Xbox Game Pass. I'm not sure that's going to happen, right? But that's the mentality these days of Xbox. They just think every game is just going to launch on their platform and be just free to them. Is that a sustainable model? I just can't see the future in that. They need PlayStation, in my opinion.
I actually completely agree. I think, seeing as the acquisition's already taking place, 100% Call of Duty will be launching day one on Game Pass. It will. But the issue that comes with that, and it might be maybe one of the reasons they're switching to biannual releases rather than yearly, is because their revenue is going to be dwarfed due to being day one Game Pass and not on PlayStation. No one's going to have to buy Call of Duty. Everyone's just going to play it on Game Pass, whether they're PC or Xbox, and there's no other way to buy the game. That's going to be all of their consumers getting it technically for free, not really, you're paying a service, but you don't actually own the game. That's going to affect Activision's revenue, and they're not going to be able to afford to release a title every single year.
But they're going to have to do something else to drive revenue. They're going to do something else. There's going to be loot boxes. There's going to be season passes. There's going to be skins that they need to sell, or like themes or something. They're going to need to generate more revenue from this if they're going to be going on to Game Pass. And the game is going to suffer because all that development energy, it's going to be put into areas where actually, previous to that, we're so used to them developing great games. I see this as the downfall of COD. I really do, if they pull the plug.
I think you may be right on that, Phil. You just look at what they've done with Halo. And I don't mean to take this too much off into an Xbox, but it's very relevant here. You look at what they've done to Halo. Halo was the king of FPS. Obviously, COD 4 kind of came out and kind of took its shimmer, right? But
Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike was always for PC nerds, mate. No one cared about Counter-Strike. It's just for PC nerds where they're sitting there with their sweaty, greasy top on, their sweaty long hair, and they're doing their WASDs, and they're trying to get off the grated cheese that they bought in a bag that's all over the keyboard.
Just installing their drivers.
Sorry, boys, I'll be a bit late. I've got to install my driver. Oh, shut up, you wet fart. No one cares about that. That's all for losers, right? COD.
You wet fart is jokes.
COD and Halo were the boys back in the day. In the 2000s, they were the kings of the genre. They really were, in my console-centric eyes, right? Anyway, when you look at Halo, what's happened is that Halo launched free-to-play, and they had a huge take-up, massive take-up, biggest Halo launch ever, huge take-up. Even me, I was right on it, day one, cannot wait to get on it. The problem was that because they're trying to monetize it, they lock everything that makes Halo what it is away. They lock it away behind you having to buy camos, you having to buy skins, you having to, instead of having an actual progression system, you've got to do daily challenges, daily check-ins to be able to earn progression through a battle pass, which is by itself a shit thing, because as soon as you finish it, there is no more progression left. There is nothing else for you to do. So you just turn it off, you walk away, done. And then, when you see what they've done in terms of their support, where there's been no maps, there's been no community stuff, co-op now has been cancelled. All the things that were in the package to begin with are not there. And they're still not there nearly a year after launch. Having it on Game Pass and excluding the revenue that you'd get from the PlayStation system, which you could, because you can have both things run in tandem. Get all your money, milk the fuck out of the Sony people, while offering something better on your platform. Have parity in terms of release, so parity in terms of DLC, so you're milking both of your consumer bases, but have it so the one side you've got on your subscription that you're already paying for, so you can play your Rise, Son of Rome, and whatever the hell you've got on Xbox, and the PlayStation people, where you're just milking the absolute crap out of them by charging them 70 quid. You can have that so that Xbox still look good compared. But at least you've got that revenue coming in from that side. Whereas not having any of it, you have to introduce some form of monetary detriment. Maybe it means that now Call of Duty doesn't launch with a single player. and maybe you pay for the single player separately. Maybe you don't get Spec Ops missions anymore. Maybe they come down the road in a battle pass. All the shit that we enjoy COD for those couple of months would come later because they're just trying to milk you. So you can have that Captain Price skin. So you can have that gold weapon skin that you used to earn from actually playing the game. Now you got to buy it. It will be shit like that. I think if they do go this route, it will destroy Call of Duty's lineage because they've already proven they do that with Halo.
My only issue with everything you're saying is that everything you're saying they're going to implement in Call of Duty and will cause the downfall, they've already been doing in Call of Duty since the launch of Warzone. Every Call of Duty we've had over the last however many years has had microtransactions, has had battle passes, has had buyable skins, has had map packs, we've had map packs since, Modern Warfare 2 or Black Ops 1? They've been milking us dry for years, and we've been paying the lump sum to own the game. It's just, I think this is a case of, it won't kill the game. It's just, like you said, we will get more content over a spread out time. I don't think it'll be as severe as you're saying. It won't be like Spec Ops missions, or at least it will be the same amount we would have had anyway. And then they add more throughout, or more zombies maps, or multiplayer modes, or camos, or guns, or characters, stuff like that. I don't think it will be the downfall of the game. The main downfall will be because people are going to pay the microtransactions anyway. People do. It's just the lack of sales. That's where the big money comes in for Call of Duty, in my opinion, and that's gone. And that is going to be the downfall of the game. Because as much as people will milk the games, they will milk us, we will pay happily, because the community loves this game, we love the content they give us. The revenue from buying the game doesn't exist anymore, and it is the best-selling game every single year. That revenue being deleted will yearly destroy Activision.
The downfall of the game is when you see fucking Goku turn up and he's going around the maps shooting his Kamehameha at people. That's the downfall of COD, and that's what I see as the future. They've got to do something to earn money. Something extra.
I fully get what you're saying there, Spence, in terms of, this is Activision. Of course they're going to milk us dry, right? But you think for £70 or £60, whatever you pay for COD year on year, you get a lot of content in that base game for that 70 quid. You get a single player campaign, you get a full multiplayer suite, which is finished with a lot of maps, with great guns, with great progression systems, and you get then a supplementary mode, be that Spec Ops, be that zombies, whatever, right? And you get that in the base package without having to pay any more than your 70. And then if you want to pay more, you can of course get battle passes and things like that to be able to give yourself extra skins. Looking at the Halo example, and the reason why I don't have the same faith that you do, it's a case that they launch with the multiplayer, campaign comes separately for a charge, which by all means, by all opinions, I haven't played it myself, by all opinions isn't that great. And then you get half the maps, you don't get to have any of the modes because they're on a rotation basis, and then you get, instead of a progression system, it's built in to monetize you because there's no other profit coming from that game. So you can't earn these things other than by just paying for them or doing stupid battle pass stuff, and that's the only way. And that's where I think that Call of Duty will end up going to supplement this, because they have to go microtransactions out the wazoo.
The only way that will happen, and it will follow suit with Halo, is because we know Activision, they release a stellar Call of Duty every single year, and they're switching to biannual every 2 years. You're telling me they have twice as much development time as they did, and they're going to be releasing us a quarter or a fraction of the game they used to. The only way that will happen is if they're developing Call of Duty, typing away, doing all the coding and shit, and then Phil Spencer walks in and he's like, whoa, slow down. You guys, you're too efficient. This isn't supposed to come out for 3 years. There's no way.
He'd be like, but let's have a think about this, COD. You've got 8 studios who are each chipping in on your game, and you were bringing in $3 billion a year, or whatever the hell Activision are bringing in. Now, you're actually only on the spreadsheet bringing in $250 million from microtransactions, whatever it is, because we don't have these sales there to back it up. So we can't give you the budget that we used to have. So now we've got to think about how we can actually keep player retention. And instead of milking them for 3 months of the year and then they buy another one next year, you've got to keep the same players coming back for 2 years on the bounce. and keep that going. So it's a different monetization structure. And that's when you see the downfall, because then they can't say, we got 4 teams working on this big game, because we know we're going to sell X number of copies at £70 a pop, and that's going to afford our development for the next title and the next one after that. And anything else we make on this is just going to go into Activision's back books. They can't do that because all that revenue's gone. So now they got a way smaller revenue stream, and it's a different structure. And that structure of how you fund your studio then completely changes. So it doesn't pay for you to put out all that content to start with, because you're not enticing them in. Because you'll get a big influx of people. So as long as you keep giving them something to try and tide them over, and that's what Halo's done. And Halo has ended up, it's being played over, I looked at some stats for this before we recorded. Oh, it went from being played by 250,000 people on its launch in its first 24 hours to now being at 3,000. 3,000, it's dead, man. Absolutely, there's no one there. And COD will go the same route if it does change up too much. And I can't see how you can say to a studio that you spent so many billions on buying a publisher and then still say, yeah, we'll fund everything the same way it was, but your income stream is actually cut by 3/4 because we're not releasing it here. I know they got Microsoft money, but that doesn't make business sense whatsoever. Spencer, I'm coming across to yourself. Now, I want to hear a movie character. You're already given a character from a game that cannot be mentioned. There's a couple of movies for that character as well that have a character called Alice. I want to hear your impression of Alice from any of the movies that can't be mentioned. You did such a good job with Ada earlier. Such a good female impression. I can't wait to hear some more. You killed it, mate.
Well, I hope. Well, after that, you can't vote it as the worst. I hope you know. So, Resident Evil Retribution, everyone's favourite. Is that? Oh, it does count as well, doesn't it?
It does count, baby. I'll add it to the list. Oh,
I don't care about how it sounds now. A virus escaped. A lot of people died. The trouble was, they didn't stay dead. Flashcard, it goes, pans around, fades in, but instead of the name of the film, it says, Quick News. Bang. Get an animator to do that for us, that'd be sick. Hit up that bird who DM'd us on Twitter. We have confirmed the PS Plus games for September. So, being released on September 6th, I'm going to start with the PlayStation Essential games, and those are as follows. Need for Speed Heat for the PS4, Grand Blue Fantasy Versus for the PS4, and Toem for the PS5. For Extra, we get Deathloop PS5, Assassin's Creed Origins PS4, Watch Dogs 2 PS4, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 PS4, Spiritfarer Farewell Edition PS4, Chicory A Colorful Tale PS4, Monster Energy Supercross PS4, Alex Kidd in Miracle World DX for the PS4 and 5, Rabbids Invasion The Interactive Show for the PS4, Rayman Legends PS4, and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World The Game Complete Edition, also for the PS4. And then, if you've gone above and beyond and you're a premium subscriber, you will also get access to Siphon Filter 2 for the PS1, the Sly Collection for the PS3, Sly Cooper Thieves in Time for the PS3, Bentley's Hack Pack for PS3, Toy Story 3 for the PSP, and Kingdom of Paradise also for the PSP. Now, I would go off on this and ask you boys what games you're looking forward to, but we talked for a long time about the last bit of quick news, so I'm just going to skim over it. Slide Collection, Siphon Filter, Deathloop, let's go. Great games. Toem, easy platinum. What else is there to say? All done and dusted. So, Philip Hoy. Well, I gave Davey the Batman earlier, and he did a decent job. I'm going to give you an impression of the same vein. I'd like to hear your best impression of Harley Quinn.
Right, Davey, give me a joker. Let's get into the scene a little bit. Let's duo this one.
I'm going to do the same one I did that you guys hated before, but if anything, I'm consistent. Let me show you how I got these scars. I hope that sets you up.
Harley Quinn's not in that movie.
She's not. She's nowhere near it.
Well, Spence, Mama's gonna paint the streets with blood. Quick news. Cyberpunk is getting DLC. It's going to be shit, and that is the news. Davey, I want your best impression of a donkey.
Ogres like onions. Ogres like onions? What about Kick? I love Kick. Everybody loves Kick. That's my impression. Donkey from Shrek. Quick news. Firewall 0 Hour developer First Contact Entertainment has shared a new trailer for its upcoming PSVR 2 title, Firewall Ultra. Now, one thing that stood out to me is that Firewall Ultra utilizes new PlayStation VR 2 Sense technology features, like the eye tracking, which enables you to intuitively swap weapons and bring up HUD indicators through cameras built into the PSVR 2 headset. Guys, what is nice is that this game, when it came out originally for the PSVR, was really impressive. Obviously, the resolution wasn't all there, but it was a cool looking game, and we got it on PlayStation Plus a while ago. Obviously, we haven't played it because none of us own a PSVR, but from what we've seen in this obviously fake trailer, because it is blatantly fake, it looks hype. I mean, I'm day one for the PSVR 2 as long as the price is right, and this could be a game that I buy straight away. We'll keep an eye on it from here on out. Spencer, coming across to you to close. I've been really enjoying these female characters, I really have, but I'm going to give you a change of pace. A change of pace, just for a bit of safety. I want to hear your impression of Patrick Star from SpongeBob SquarePants. Just a bit of a random, I thought I'd throw you a curveball, something you couldn't see coming, but someone that's got a lot of quotable quotes.
I got a headset on. No, this is Patrick. No, this is Patrick. No, this is Patrick. Quick news. I didn't really do it in a Patrick voice, but you know the quote, I imagine. Quick news. So PlayStation has announced a new line of colours for their accessories. So now we have the grey camouflage collection. You can get a camouflage coloured DualSense wireless controller, camouflage coloured Pulse 3D wireless headset, and grey camouflage PS5 covers for your console. I mean, that's it really. It's camouflage. Why would you want something you can't even see? Let's be real. Out of all the weird designs they could have chosen, the cool, like they could have gone, oh, God of War, Horizon, Last of Us. Camouflage. Come on. Yeah, that's it for quick news, boys. Let's just get on to who was the worst, and I'd rather not know. So I'm very reluctant to ask you boys, but who do you think was the worst of the evening? I'm gonna start. I feel like I usually pass it to Phil first, so I'm gonna pass it to Davey first. Who was the worst for you tonight?
I mean, there was some interesting takes on this one. I gotta say, I threw you a curveball with Alice, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. It wasn't good. It was pretty bad. But there's two in mind that, unfortunately for you, Spence, I think you fell down on both of them. The first was Patrick. It was bad. It was really bad. It was just your own voice doing the quote of Patrick. That was bad. You're Ada Wong, though, mate. It was literally just a case of you just took your voice up one octave. It wasn't even a comically high female voice. It was just your voice, slightly higher pitch and a bit quiet, like as if that makes you sexy. I don't know, poor Georgia. If that's how you try and woo her into bed, by doing a slightly higher octave and a slow...
I don't try to sound like a woman when I talk to my girlfriend.
Hey, I don't know. We were going for sexy there, and it definitely wasn't a female voice. So I think that's my worst of the evening, especially for a game that is as beloved as the game that Calvi mentioned too on this here podcast. That's where I'm going. Unfortunately, it just didn't hit for me.
Yeah, well, I figured that might be the case. Phil, mate, what's yours?
Well, Spence, I think this might come as a bit of a surprise to you. Because as much as your impressions were just you reading out quotes in your voice, I really hated Davy's Batman and All Might quotes, purely because he came up to the mic and shouted. That's all I heard. It didn't come across. There was a little bit of acting, but all I heard was just a high-pitched noise blasting in my ear. There was no impression for me there. At least you got a quote out. So, Davey, I'm going to say your Batman was the worst.
And that just leaves me, which means, Phil, bro, you've saved me. Let's go. I didn't really have an opinion of whose was the worst because I thought it was me, but I'm going to play the game. It's the way the cookie crumbles, Davey, mate. I don't think it was your Batman. I'm going to say it was your All Might just because in my head, I wanted you to go the full effort. You kind of just shouted it all at once, but I wanted the Detroit, Delaware, Smash. I wanted the doubles.
That's Midoriya.
Or the United States.
That's Midoriya's.
The United States of Smash, bro.
That's Midoriya's ting, isn't it?
United States of Smash, isn't? You could have done United.
I didn't think of United.
And that's the most iconic one he's ever done. And it's like long as well. He takes a break. He's like, United, and then there's like a break. States, and it carries on. Whereas you kind of just shouted it all at once.
Well, the problem is, I was thinking about doing like the English. Not trying to defend myself here. I was thinking about, like, obviously when I think of All Might, it's like no fear for I am here, right? But obviously I watch it in Japanese, so no chance I'm gonna get that out. I mean, I know it's just Vegeta's
Google
voice
Translate
actor.
it, bro.
It's
You could have Google Translated it.
well, I know what it is. I see what you mean. Put it into right.
If you'd given it to us in the Japanese, if you'd tried your best to do the Japanese, I think it'd have been the best impression because you'd have put so much effort in.
These goalposts for these things change all the time. One time is you got to do a physical performance. The next thing is getting it bang on. There's no way to win this in any conceivable way. So anybody that thinks this is a true test of skill, it's really not. It's just whatever we feel on the day. And that's why I like him, because anyone can get fucked at any point. And that's what it's all about, baby. But I take the criticism to heart. I'll work to get better on these ever-growing goalposts.
Okay, so following that, Davey, you are the worst. So you have a shot to do on episode 60. That's one shot for you, 0 for me and Phil at the moment. Only on episode 51. A long time to go. But before we move on to the next segment of the show, going to Phil, starting with you this time. What was your favourite impression of the night?
Well, I think it would be a bit rough if I was going to nominate myself, because I think I had 3 particularly good.
You can nominate yourself. Davey did it.
No, I'm not going to be that self-absorbed. Leave the pause in. My favourite of the night, and I hate to blow that smoke right up your ass, Davey, but actually I really enjoyed the donkey impression, because you were semi-close to an Eddie Murphy impression, and you had the quote right, so I enjoyed that one. I can't give it to Spencer, because it was just his voice reading out quotes. At least you tried to sound like Donkey. So well done. You're my best of the night.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Davey, moving on to you. You're up 1 at the moment. Not that it means anything. What was your favourite of the night?
My favourite of the night was... It's probably Phil Starr.
Your own.
I was thinking about doing it as a joke again, yeah.
Your own. Your own.
I can't do 2 in a row. I can't do the same joke twice. I'm gonna go for Phil Starscream. I put him up, and sure, it did take him forever. Like, listener, this quick news is probably done in 30 minutes. We're an hour and 10 minutes into this, and it's just sitting there waiting for these 2 lads to find quotes. It's been painful. But after you found a quote, I think you did a good impression. I think it was good. You weren't as quick as I wanted you to be for something that you love, but it was good nonetheless.
I was embarrassed of how long it took me. I've got Megatron and Starscream stood behind me. I should have known that quote off the top of my head. I do apologise. It did take me time. But yeah, I did give you a 2 for 1 because I gave you the whole scene. I gave you Megatron and Starscream. And Starscream chucks Megatron outside of Astro Train into Unicron. And hence, he becomes Galvatron. So I set the scene for you there.
Spoken like a true virgin. So, for my choice for winner of the evening, my favourite is actually your Harley Quinn, Phil. You actually put some heart into that. You kind of animated yourself, gave yourself the gun, shot yourself in the head. I mean, she's not a very bright girl, so she probably would do it.
She's a doctor, thank you very much.
She is, but she's insane, bro.
She's an insane doctor. Best kind.
And I went a step above. I went even more insane. I shot myself in the head.
Yeah, she's a doctor, but she doesn't, like, cure disease. She talks to insane people.
She's a GP.
And then falls in love.
Yeah, and then she falls in love with him.
She's mad on that insane D.
Yeah, to be fair, he probably goes crazy. So yeah, with that in mind, Phil, I'm
Crazy
giving you
for
the best.
the D. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Appreciate that. Doesn't mean anything, but well done.
Yeah, means fuck
Do I
all.
get a shot to hand out?
No, that's not
Absolutely
how it works.
not.
I got 5 to give out from the
Absolutely
big
not.
quiz, thank you very much. So you want to still keep me on your good side, boys. If you've forgotten about that, that's what you get for winning. Because I haven't. It's notated down in the doc. I got 5 to give out at any point I want. So, yeah, please treat me like the king that I am. And I realised that I can balance this on top of my headphones. So now I might keep it on for the rest of the episode. Even if it is culturally a bad move. I'll take it off. Save it for next episode.
Can't take it off. He's
Save it for
immediately,
next episode.
immediately backtracked. So, even though Phil's the winner, it means literally nothing. But with that in mind, I think it's time to move it on to the topic.
Stop! Topic time!
Here we are, we're on the topics, and this time we're going to be talking through a rerun of what we went through last episode, which is the Gamescom. But first, before we started recording, we watched the Disney Showcase, guys, and in hopes that we might see Marvel vs. Capcom, Ultimate Alliance, anything, and turns out it was trash. But there was one thing shown, and that was the Captain America and Black Panther combo game. Now, Black Panther was rumored to have his own game coming out, and we spoke about it a couple of episodes ago. Turns out he does have a game, and it's with Cap, and it's set in World War II, and you're fighting Nazis. I mean, what more can you want from a melee-based superhero game, I assume? Spencer, you're not a fan of Black Panther, but did the game resonate with you?
It's the kind of game where I like the concept. Not a fan of the heroes, because they both literally have the exact same power set, just from different places in the world. Wakanda and, well, America, I suppose. Captain America, let's be honest. But it's the kind of thing where I need to see it to know its potential. All we saw wasn't even a cinematic trailer. We saw the environment and then a JPEG of Black Panther, Captain America, a Wakandan warrior, and someone else. And that was it. This is the kind of game where Marvel makes some fantastic games when they're given to Insomniac. Basically anything else, I don't have very much high hopes. So I need to see gameplay before I even have as much of an opinion on this game.
What about yourself, Philip Hoy?
Well, Davey, I'm glad you asked. And I love how this game was the standout, because all we saw was a cinematic trailer of some books, a shield, and then walking out at the end. King, captain, soldier. That's all we got. You asked me what I wanted earlier when you introduced this. I want some fucking gameplay. I'm so bored of these cinematic trailers. My God, they just bore me. But I love the characters. I love anything Marvel. I just drink it up. Give me some more Marvel. But this just goes to show how poor the Disney Showcase was. This is a bottom. This is a 3 out of 10, and I'm being fucking generous.
I think you are being generous there. I think I'd edge probably towards a 2 out of 10. It was a total waste of my life. I mean, I'm not interested in mobile games, and the entire thing was mobile games, and then this. I mean, Avatar looks decent. That's about it, really. The game, going back to Black Panther, like you guys said, just echo your thoughts, I need to see gameplay. Because I don't want it to turn out like the Avengers game. And that's always the worry whenever you got any of these franchises. We're on 2 for 3 at the moment. Guardians was great. Spider-Man's great. And then Avengers is...
Agree.
Avengers is... we don't speak about Avengers. Even though it's on extra, so I do want to give it a go. Right, guys, well, let's move on from that, and let's talk about Gamescom. First off, before we get into our Shag, Marry, Kills, which, as you know, is how we rate these conferences, how we explain the games that we are passionate about, and as you could tell from what we've been playing, we actually got round to one of Phil's Shag lists from months and months ago, which is Trials of Midgard. So we do eventually get round to playing these games that we want to shag the shit out of. It does eventually get there. Eventually. They just might get put on the list, and it's a long list. So, guys, what are your ratings on this conference? Philip Hoy, I'm coming across to yourself first. Gamescom, I know it was a number of weeks ago now, and your memory in your old age is failing you, but do you remember what you thought of this conference?
Well, Davey, I'm a consummate professional. I take notes, and lots of notes. So yes, I do remember, because I've reviewed the notes earlier. And what I remember, and what I noted down was, there was a hell of a lot of space games. And I remember we actually got an introduction for one of the games from space, which was absolutely awesome. And to be fair, probably the best part of the show. This was a lot better than the Disney showcase, but it was very PC focused, and that pleases me. What doesn't please me is the vast majority of things we saw were CG cinematics. There wasn't a lot of gameplay in this show. So it was a little better, but it wasn't a hell of a lot better. I'm probably going on a 6 out of 10, purely because there was one or two games that I really, really liked, and we'll get onto those later.
And yourself, Mr. Spencer Davis.
I honestly can't remember what I rated it before, so it might be the same as what I rated before, it might not. I'm just going to give it a brand new rating now from how I remember it. I would have given the Disney Expo a 0, a literal 0, because I hated how it was presented, I hated the game show, and I hated everything. So the Gamescom, which was better, but ultimately not amazing, I'd give it a 4 out of 10. I'm being harsh today. I don't think it was a great presentation. Joff did his best, that's fine. Too many space games, like Phil said. They announced one from space, who cares? That woman that announced the game, she's not going to play that game. She doesn't care. She's an astronaut, she's got stuff to do.
She's not in space forever,
That's cool, though.
She ain't going to come back and be like, oh, I better play that space game. She's just been in space, bro. What do you think she's going to want to do? Go
They
back
might
to
be
space in
testing
a virtual world.
PlayStation in space.
Bro, they are not. She is probably sick of space. She's probably bored to death up there. She wants to get back and breathe some fresh air, is what she wants. She's going to go hiking when she gets back to Earth. She's not getting on the PS5. Trust me.
Do you reckon that as soon as she comes back from space, where she's seen the majesty of the Earth from orbit, which only a handful of people have seen, she's up there experiencing zero gravity, something I've never experienced in my entire life, something I'd love to experience. She's up there for, 3 to 9 months, whatever. Her skeleton's going to shit because she's got no gravity to, muscle wastage. She's having to do all these workouts just to keep her same body mass. I reckon when she comes back, she'll want to go mining. The total opposite. She'll want to go into the Earth. I reckon she'll be playing that mining game. That's what she'll want to do.
What she doesn't want to do is when she's gone through all this training, she's been up in space, she comes back down, survives the whole trip, right? You're risking your life to be in space, to further science. She comes back down to Earth, and she listens to our podcast, and Spencer just laying into her. That's what she doesn't want to fucking hear.
I know. We got a huge female demographic, Spencer. And there you are, dunking on a female astronaut from the European Space Agency as well. It's not like as if we have a lot going up there. And you're dunking on him. And last thing, and I want to put the record straight on this, Philip Hoy used to dunk on Tim Cook, our only British astronaut, and he hated him. Hated him for no reason whatsoever.
Absolutely hate Tim Cook.
I don't get this hate for astronauts, bro. Astronauts are cool as hell. I will not have this. They are not nerds. They are not they are nerds. They're the literal definition of nerds. But I want to be one. I love space. And whereas you guys are dunking on space games, give me more space games. I love space. I eat it up. Space, 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 space. Chuck it in me. I don't have enough space in me for space.
Well, Davey, and I really hope you keep this in the podcast, because you mentioned Tim Cook. Tim Cook releases iPhones. It's Tim Peake that went to space.
Oh, that's
and he's
his name.
the one I've got the grudge against.
Oh, well, I hate Tim Cook then. I'm an Android
Because he
guy.
laps it up. He absolutely loves it. He's a rock and roll star. What's he done? He gone to space. Brilliant. Get off that high horse. Release an iPhone like Tim Cook. He's the one we're championing.
No, we're not. Take it back. Tim Peake, mate.
Take it
Tim
back.
Peake. It's been a while. He's not relevant anymore, is he? I think when they come back from space, unless you've been to the moon, I don't really care. You know? Like, loads... I don't care as much. You've not been to the moon, mate. It's cool. You got halfway to space. You got halfway there. Good one. When they go to the moon in 2025 or whatever it is now, I'll have time for them. I'll have time for them forever. And when they go to Mars, bro, I'll be lapping up everything you say. But as soon as you come back from space, you're just a normal guy then at that point who keeps on harping on about the glory days. You know, oh, let me tell you about space. But Phil hated him when he was up in space. And I had respect for him up there. You lose respect. It's like it's a declining gradient. This is the longer you're back on Earth, the less I respect you. So for all those people that haven't been up in space, think how much I disrespect you. Think how much I just have no care for you whatsoever because you haven't even had that high peak of going to space. So if anything, if you want to earn my respect, and this goes to you guys too, because I feel the same way, go to space. And then I may respect you. Because I will respect you while you're up there.
Listen, I wasn't dunking on her for being an astronaut. I was dunking on her for presenting a game that she's not going to play and has nothing to do with. She was just an astronaut. Her being in space, yeah, you do you, girl. It doesn't affect me. I don't care. But you are not playing this game when you get back to Earth. Let's be real. That's all I'm saying. She can do what she wants. I don't care if she's an astronaut. Crack on. I'd love to experience Zero G. You live in, probably not my dream, but you live in something I'd like to do. So, well done. But the showcase, the entire thing, it was a bit half-mast. There was nothing amazing.
Samantha, if you are listening to this podcast, I appreciated what you did. Don't listen to Spencer. He's a nonsense. But let's move this on, guys. Please.
I suppose I might as well just give you my rating on the show. Solid 6 out of 10. Went on way too long for what was shown. A lot of downtime. And when they cut across to the Game Awards, not Game Awards, what is it? Gamescom Awards, Opening Night Live Awards, ONL, whatever they called it. Dire. Absolutely dire. Because those awards were meaningless. It was what are the best games that were being there at Gamescom, which meant that for PlayStation, what are your awards? They didn't even go. So it's like, what have we got? Life is P's out for both. Let's put that on there. It's like all these games win that there's no God of War Ragnarok. There was nothing that actually is a contender for a game of the year. So that was a bit of a waste of time for me. But let's move it on to our Shag, Marry, Kills. Spencer, what is your shag? Lead the way.
Well, my friends, my shag is a game that I thought would be my marry for this showcase. But after watching the gameplay they showed us, it's moved down. It's gone down from my expectations, and that is Lies of P. Lies of P, on the initial reaction to it, my first look, I thought it looked awesome. It literally looked like Bloodborne 2 or a Bloodborne spin-off. It looked like something I'd been craving for a long time. But after seeing the newest gameplay at Gamescom, I remember just feeling a bit disheartened. Like, the combat wasn't as fluid as I want. It was a bit more hack and slashy than Dark Soulsy, and there was like health bars on top of the enemies' heads, which is fine, but I don't know, it had more of a Devil May Cry vibe than a Dark Souls vibe, and that's not something I really want at the moment. I want more Souls, and Lies of P, that's what I wanted from it, and I felt like it didn't deliver that, or at least it didn't come across that way in Gamescom.
I'm really surprised about that, Spence, because I thought Lies of P looked amazing. I was really, really impressed by it. I mean, I was impressed on the first trailer that we saw, and then to see that they got a really good counter mechanic built in. I love a counter. Absolutely adore a counter. I think it looks like a hell of a lot of fun. It's definitely going to be something I pick up, for sure.
I thought it looked awesome as well. So this is the action Souls-like game, which you were describing, where you guide Pinocchio on an unrelenting journey to become human. Incredible. That's a great setting for a game. How can that game not be good? Coming out late 2022, 2023 on PS5, which I'm really, really excited for. I think that's a game that I'm not a massive Souls guy, but if it is a bit more hack and slash, maybe it'll appeal to me.
I mean, yeah, you boys seem hyped for that game a lot more than I am. I think it's still going to be a day one for me, because it looks alright. Depends what else is releasing at the time, but it's just not top of my list of anticipated games at the moment. But Phil, coming across to you, what is your shag for Gamescom?
Well, my shag, and there was quite a lot of games shown at this presentation, and a lot of them I probably mentioned on previous shows. And I don't want to go back over old ground, so I'm trying to pick out a new one, right? One that probably just appeals to me. I know you guys are probably just going to slam me for it. But the one that really piqued my interest, that pretty little lady called Moonbreaker. That was the one that made me think, should I send a drink over to that table? Should I introduce myself? Should I impose on this girl a little bit and bring on the charm? And I think I will. This game is a little bit of me, if you get me. If we're taking it back to Love Island, it's a little bit of me. It's a tabletop game. So it's a Warhammer-esque game. But it does something special that I've never really seen in a Warhammer game. And I'd love to be corrected. If there is a Warhammer game out there, please, listeners, viewers, shout into me. Come on my Twitter, give me some trash. But this game, you can actually take the models away and paint them in the game and customize them to your own needs and your own likes. This game blows my mind for what's possible for tabletop games. And don't get me wrong, it's not a AAA. We're not talking about Callisto Protocol. We're not talking about Liza P here. It's a little mini game that I'm probably going to spend a couple of hours in, but I'm going to enjoy those couple of hours. And it's made by a developer that, Davey, you love. Unknown Worlds, Subnautica. And I know from Natural Selection back in the day where they made a mod for Half-Life. This is a game that I'm going to be buying straight away. And I don't care if you don't want to join me. Come at me, boys.
I'm definitely not going to be joining you. But when I saw this, I thought of you immediately. I know how keen you are for Warhammer. I know how much you still enjoy painting them. And, getting out your little glasses that go in like 3 levels. You know that guy when he fixes Woody on Toy Story 2? It's like that, right? And you're there like getting underneath the armpits, painting your Space Marines or whatever you do. It's just not for me. And as cool as it is, I was gutted when the devs came out and they were like, from the developers of Subnautica, and I was thinking, oh my god, 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 oh my god. Another survival game, another survival-based game. Where are they going to go this time? We went ice last time, water before that. Are we going fire? Are we going space? Everything space? We going to space? No, you're painting Warhammer stuff. Cool. It just ain't my cup of tea. I thought the production level looked great. And for people like yourself who are really into this, I can see there being a proper fan base for this. Because that is a cool level of customization that I haven't seen be done to that extent anywhere else before. And it is like a love letter to tabletop gaming. But not my cup of tea. Spencer, are you feeling the same way?
I've seen this game. I just thought... I've had sex before. I mean, well, I'm good.
Can you feel the eye rolls of the crowd, right, that you're appealing to? You run a PlayStation podcast. There's so many people doing the Undertaker's face right now and rolling their eyes in the back of their heads because we all love Warhammer at heart, right?
That's my
we
face.
all grew up on this shit.
And for those that are listening on audio only, Spencer right now is cuddling a giant Squirtle. He's literally cuddling a giant Squirtle and he's calling people virgins who play Warhammer. Warhammer's got guns, mate. That Squirtle, it shoots water out its mouth at other pretend animals.
That Squirtle doesn't get guns until he evolves twice.
Yeah, exactly. Your basic bitch Warhammer guy gets guns straight away on 40k. Not an original, though, as I learned.
How do you think I've had sex, boys? This poor Squirtle's been through the ringer.
Oh dear God, he's
always
ruined.
wet.
He's ruined. Dear God.
But yeah, this game, as much as like I understand people are interested in that kind of stuff, it's not for me. It never has been, and I'm just too lazy to paint my own models. That's the way it is. I'm just a lazy person by nature, so it doesn't really appeal to me at all.
Okay, moving on. Thanks, guys, for backing me up on my choice there. Davey, how about yourself? Has any ladies in the audience caught your eye?
Yeah, there has been. The game that I was really, really impressed by is Phantom Hellcat. Do you guys remember this? This is the slasher platformer that was shown. It looked like Strider from PlayStation 4 when that launched. It looked exactly like that, but then when the gameplay zoomed in to the action, it looked like a full-on combat kind of slashing hack and slash. It looked great. I thought it looked everything that I really like about this kind of genre, but it was kind of morphing the combat into more of an actual slasher, like Devil May Cry kind of combat style, rather than typically it stays in that zoomed out sideways camera. Really, really impressed by this. This is a game that I'm going to be jumping into. There's no release date for it yet, and I've never heard the developer before, which is All In Games. But yeah, this looked really interesting to me. I'll need to see more, but from what I've seen so far, I was very, very impressed by it. So definitely one to watch in the future. Any thoughts from you guys at all on this game, or did it completely slip your mind?
I've just done a quick Google on the developer, and the only games they've released previously are games called Red Wings, American Aces. Does that ring a bell to anyone? But of course, this might be a Housemarque kind of situation where they've developed kind of very low level games, and now they're coming out with a big punch, right? They might be going straight to the face with this one. This might be their huge title, and I wish them luck because it does look interesting. I agree.
I mean, yeah, the developers are all in. So am I. Game looks quite cool. If you're going to buy it digital, I'm just going to play your copy of it. I'm not interested enough to probably buy it myself. But if it comes my way free of charge, then who am I to give it a miss, you know?
Why not? Well, let's move on to our Marries then. This is where the big guns come out. This is where the games that we've been saving. And remember, we cannot select the same one that somebody else does. So it gets quite grim for myself last. But we'll see how it goes. Spencer, over to you for your Marry.
All right, this is the big one. I'm sorry if I step on your boys' toes. Sorry if I kind of steal one from you, but I get to go first. That's the way this has gone. So it is what it is. I'm going to pick the best game they showed, and that is Moving Out 2. That game, it looked decent. Didn't look amazing. It looked decent. But me and my missus have been playing Moving Out 1 when she's been staying over mine, and we've been having a whale of a time because it's basically Overcooked, but I'm screaming at her a lot less because it's not as it's time sensitive and stuff, but you just have to grab the stuff and get out. You don't have to make exact meals or be time efficient. You don't have to practice your dashing and your movement. Whereas with Overcooked, to be efficient and get 3 stars in the platinum, like me and you did, Davey, we kind of had to grind that game. And after we did that and put those hours in, watching my missus try to play Overcooked was an absolute nightmare, and it pissed me off every second. So Moving Out, being kind of the same shtick, but with a different coat of paint. I watched this conference with my girlfriend, and the second they showed Moving Out 2, the look on her face was, she was in awe. They'd finally shown a game for her. And by that, I mean they'd shown a game for us, because we'll be playing it together. So that's why it's my marry, because I get to play it with the girl I'm going to marry. Oh, isn't that nice, boys?
Oh my God, that is the soppiest bollocks I've ever heard on this podcast.
cutting
51
that out.
episodes. Now we're getting to the soppy part. This is where we start getting soppy now. Oh, that's lovely, though. That is lovely. And unlike on last episode, where this was the whole point of the show, where I derailed it so much by us getting into a full-on argument about how I couldn't believe you'd picked a game like this, I'm a bit sober today. I've only had 3 beers. I'm on squash right now. So I'm just going to let it slide. You do you, Spencer. It's a game that I'll definitely pick up on PlayStation Extra when it goes on there in a few years. But nothing I'm going to rush out and buy. Certainly nothing that I'm going to marry. But then again, I haven't played the first one. So maybe I'm not in the best position to judge here. Phil, maybe we should get on Moving Out 1 and try it out. See the hype.
Maybe we should. And as Spencer was describing this game as a more simplistic version of Overcooked, maybe we could invite our mutual friend Martin, because he's absolutely trash at Overcooked. He's the guy you definitely do not want in your party when you're playing. It's fine, he doesn't listen to the podcast, and if he does, then Martin, you're invited to play along in Moving Out with me and Davey, because we would need a third.
Poor Martin. Phil, what's your marry?
Well, Davey, I'm glad you asked. I really like being in front of you in this Shag, Marry, Kill. Because do I say Callisto Protocol? Do I say it? It's there. It's the low-hanging fruit. It's the best game of the whole freaking show. It's incredible. But no. I like you. You're one of my friends. So I'm going to let you have it. Because you're going to definitely pick it. And we can talk about it when you do. So my marry, and God, if I could marry this guy, is Hideo Kojima. He's launching a new podcast, and it's going to be on Spotify. It's launching, or it has already launched, on the 8th of September. I haven't actually listened to it just yet because I've been very, very busy. But it's on my listen list. It's in both Japanese and English, and it's going to be a weekly show. So this podcast is a deep dive into his brain, and it sheds some light on his creative process. I've got Hideo Kojima's book behind me, and by God, that man is a legend. So yeah, I'm going to be digging into that, and that is my marry. So Hideo Kojima, will you take my ring?
I shouldn't be surprised here with this. I really shouldn't, but fair dues. It's an out of the box one. It's just like as if when we get to the Game Awards later on in the year where you start putting some of the music that was shown in your marry list. You know, it's the same kind of level. But I appreciate that. I appreciate that choice. I think it was definitely interested in listening to Kojima's podcast. I've got it on my download. I've downloaded them. Haven't listened to them yet either. Very busy as well. And I haven't been traveling for work. So I've been working from home, so I don't listen to as many podcasts then. So I need to get onto a game that's a bit mindless, really, and just listen to Kojima-san lay down the wisdom, because I will sap all that in.
I kind of feel like it's a podcast you need to listen to. It's not something you can just put in the background and just mong out to, right? You've got to be there with open arms, and you've just got to be licking it up. Everything he's dropping down to you, you've got to be straight into you. You've got to be suckling on those teats.
See, I think the problem is after a while with Kojima, and I've never met the bloke, I wouldn't know what to say. I'd be like, I love your games. I'd be so tongue-tied. The problem is I think that he probably talks a lot of shit because his mind's going like a million miles an hour. So I reckon actually a lot of the podcast's probably going to be nonsense, where he's just talking about something else, like squid monster massive alien things and carrying cargo. And you're like, what? Where the fuck's this coming from? And he's like, well, they're brothers, and actually they call us infanterie. And he's like, where are you going with this, Kojima? And he's like, Space Hole Black Goat. And he's like, what? What's this? And that's, and I reckon that's the problem with Kojima, is it just starts getting a bit nuts, So we'll see, though. We'll see. I'm sure we'll talk about it more on the podcast when we listen to a couple of episodes. But yeah, good choice.
Maybe we'll get him on at a future podcast. The offer's there, Hideo, if you are listening.
Boys, I can't believe you'd promote another podcast on our show like this. I will never listen to another podcast other than in PSV Trust.
You're contractually obliged to do that, Spencer. So I'm glad that you've read your contract.
Well, that's a shame, Spence, because there's a lot of hours in the day. And I know we're on episode 51 now. And listening to us on repeat once is enough, I think, for each episode. And I appreciate our listeners. I appreciate our viewers. And if people are rewatching it, I salute you and I thank you. But let's move this on. Davey, I've queued this up nicely for you. Do you want to talk about Callisto Protocol?
Well, funnily enough, the game I'm going to talk about is Sonic Frontiers. No, it's not. Obviously, it's Callisto Protocol. Of course, it's Callisto Protocol. Well, what is it to say, really, about Callisto that hasn't been said before? Glenn Schofield coming back to survival horror. A new version of Dead Space for a modern age. And sure, we got Dead Space coming back on its own with its own remake next year. But why wait till next year when you can have it this year? This was obviously more of a look at the combat for Callisto Protocol. It blew me away. The changes to mutations with enemies. I was over the moon with this. Really am. Obviously, my marry. Cannot wait. Already pre-ordered.
100% for me too. I am day one for Callisto Protocol, or not Dead Space as I'm coining it. So in the show, we got to see two new sections. We got to see the tentacle mutations, which you touched on, which look absolutely crazy. So you've got to make sure to down those enemies as quickly as you can. Otherwise, they'll come back stronger and better and fight you. And then we saw the slip and slide, which was a bit of fun with a very brutal ending. And for the people that haven't seen that, I very much recommend you go back and experience Callisto Protocol yourselves, because boy, that is some scary shit. We're looking at the 2nd of December this year, and I cannot wait. I'm in.
Boys, come on. This fans of Dead Space, and then there are fans of Dead Space. What a fantastic franchise, and then we're moving on. Callisto Protocol's the exact same fucking game. I am so keen for this. I will say, I wasn't actually a fan of what they showed at Gamescom, because the environment they showed, which it appeared that telekinesis didn't really have a cooldown or anything like that. You could just kind of use it willy-nilly. And with that giant spinning drill in the middle of the room, there was no reason to fight the enemies. You just pick them up, chuck, pick up, chuck, pick up, chuck. They're gone. They're wiped out in a matter of seconds because you can use the environment like that to your advantage. I'd much rather kind of see a scenario where you're in like a closed off corridor and this enemies approach you. That's more Dead Space. That's what I love from Dead Space, is you slowly walking up a corridor and then you hear a noise and then maybe a vent bursts open and then they come at you. That's what I want to see. And the slip and slide, just looking at it, just reminded me of Tomb Raider, the reboot. It was 1-to-1, because even that game had those over-the-top death animations as well. And they did the exact same thing in that game. So, although I wasn't very impressed by what they showed at Gamescom, I still know I'm keen as hell for this game. It's going to be fantastic, and it's biased because I love what this game's based on. But what's wrong with that? I want it again. Give it to me. Lap it up.
Suck it up, baby. I mean, the thing about it, I think you are right. And it did worry me a little bit on how busted that looked. Because, you know, like, telekinesis in Dead Space, you can use it to, like, rip off enemy arms which are already dead. And then you can hurl those at enemies. Or you could pick up, like, little things in the environment. But this, it was like a basically like a one-hit kill thing, wasn't it? You're just literally chucking everything in there. I did worry about that. I'm just hoping that was played on, like, easy. And then we're going to take it up a notch. But I don't know. The thing that's looked interesting to me, that really stood out to me, was how good the melee combat looked. It looked like engaging these things in melee looked like really, like that you could feel the impact in the hits. And the guy did look like he was on a bit of a power trip. So I'm hoping that they either swarm you full of enemies, and it's like, which what Dead Space does, and it's like you say, the vents, and they're everywhere around you, don't know where they are, and with 3D audio, that would be so impactful. And all they need to do then is just have a really good in-game economy, which is what Dead Space did as well. And the two just marry up really, really well to kind of create what the game that can't be mentioned 4 tried to do, but didn't quite succeed. And Dead Space definitely did. So I've got a lot of faith in this. Hell, seeing the stomp was enough for me to get my day one pre-order. So anything more they show me, I'm in. I don't really want to see any more, though. I'm done with seeing stuff. So if we have to see it as part of conferences, so be it. I do not want to see it. I'm already sold. So that is all our praise for the episode. And of course, we're very much a honey and vinegar situation on this podcast. We give with the one hand, we backhand with the other. And that's the way it goes. So now we're on to our kill list. Which game do you never want to see the light of day? Spencer, bring us home.
Okay, I can't remember fully, but I think this is the same thing I chose last time we attempted to record this, and it was a mess. But I think this is the same thing, which is the one that stands out to me now, so if it's not, then my opinion's changed. But my kill would be Outlast Trials, because I've never had a thing for Outlast. Never. It's the kind of thing where they put you in a game that can't be mentioned kind of scenario, or a survival horror scenario, but they say you can't do anything to survive. You have legs and a camera. Good luck. That is it. It's just horror, and it's the kind of thing where there's basically zero replayability, or at least it might be fun to replay it, but the horror aspect is gone. Whereas in other games like Game That Can't Be Mentioned 2 and survival horror titles like Dead Space and stuff, it's the horror remains, because it's how you approach situations that makes it frightening. So Outlast has never really stood out to me as a good horror game. And it's my girlfriend's favourite series. So there's been some arguments about this. But I've just never been a fan of it. And if this Outlast Trials is just more of it, I know to steer clear from it. I'm not going to go anywhere near it.
Well, I've just Googled it quickly, and by God, it looks terrifying. But I totally get what you're saying. You know, it's going to lose that kind of element quite quickly, and then you're breaking it down to its base components. And we're asking it, is it a good game? And if you're telling me it's a terrible game, then it's, a quick download, play, and forget.
Do you know, Spencer, I resonate with a lot of what you're saying there. Because Outlast and Outlast 2, they're terrifying. They're really scary. And I'm the same as yourself. I like to have an element of control. and for the real terror to come from your choices that you make and how you can screw yourself over. And you don't get that with Outlast. It's just a case of, go here and have I hidden well enough? Do I know which route the guy's going to walk? The thing that makes it different for Outlast Trials, though, and that I'm quite surprised you put this up, is because it's co-op. That, I reckon that's going to be well fun diving in that in 2-player. I reckon that's going to be a lot of fun to be able to go through and take on these different obstacles and try and survive together as a twosome. And I think that with 2 people in a game like this, you can actually have a little bit of strategy that you can't have in 1 player. You know, in terms of luring an enemy. Kind of like Dead by Daylight style. That's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong, but I'm watching this. I think this is going to be something cool. I think this could get me into Outlast, which has never happened before. But wait and see, I guess.
To be fair, I didn't realise it was co-op. I would still stand by the fact I am not going to buy this. And I have no intention of ever buying it. It's the kind of thing where I'm fully going to steer clear. But if you buy it and you say, Spence, this game's co-op, you want to play it? I'd be like, it's something to do. And it might be a great experience in co-op. But a fun co-op experience doesn't equal a fantastic game. You could have a great co-op experience in a terrible game. It just depends who you're playing with and how you're playing it.
The game that cannot be mentioned 5.
Yeah, exactly my point. Yeah. If you're keen for it and you bring it on the table, I'll probably play it with you. But I have no intention of playing it otherwise.
Fair enough. Philip Hoy, what are you killing?
Well, Davey, I am not glad you asked. Because I'm going to land from space from this. I've had enough time up on the International Space Centre, chilling with my lady friend, Samantha, playing the PlayStation up there, playing all the new games, because, of course, Jeff has sent those games up to us on a little shuttle. We've been playing them ahead of time. But I'm landing with this one, because this is absolute trash. And I haven't got a clue who plays these games anymore. I'm talking about Park Beyond. It's gone are the days where our PC needs to do a top-down environmental building sim. Our PCs have balls now. We don't need to be playing theme park anymore. With all these AAAs coming out, who is this aimed at? Who's sitting on their PC going, oh, I'd love to build a little theme park. I'd love to build Alton Towers. I know, Davey, you've been to Alton Towers recently, but are you coming home craving building a version of Alton Towers, or your own version of Alton Towers? Looking at Callisto, I'm thinking, no. Who is then looking at this thinking, oh my God, this is the game. This is the game. Oh my God, who's losing their shit over this? I'm so confused. I can't believe these games are still being made.
Can't really argue against you on that one, to be honest. I think that was very well said. Totally forgettable. There's an audience for it. There's been an audience for it forever. Not for me. Bin it off. Fucking kill it. Kill it!
I mean, I haven't played a game like this since Thrillville Off the Rails on the Xbox 360, and although I loved that game, it was just the only game I had at the time, and that's why I loved it. I have so much other stuff to play now, so why would I ever lean towards a theme park construction game? Like you said, Phil, like, there is an audience, but why? Why is there an audience? Why would anyone in their right mind choose to play this when there are so many fantastic experiences that exist already, and they're choosing to build a roller coaster in a fictional park? I don't see it. It's for some people, but I'm not one of those people.
So it's up to me to bring this home, I guess. The final one, the finale. And I think, guys, that my kill tops yours by a landslide. This thing should never be allowed to see the light of day, ever. Ever. And if you're excited for this, get yourself checked in to a doctor, because this looks garbo. It's friends versus friends. This is the 1v1 or 2v2 online first-person shooter that's all about a card system. Ugh, do you know what I hate? Card systems in games. They do my head in. They're so annoying. And this just looked like as if it was trying too hard to be charming, and it just pissed me off. It pissed me off the entire way. Totally forgettable. It's never going to find an audience. And if I eat those words, I eat those words. But this game looked like arse, played like arse. It looked like I was watching 13. Do you remember that game from PS2? 13, great game. But we're in 2022, 2023, whenever this comes out. I don't want to play this. Nobody wants to play this. Bin it off. Save your cards for Pokemon Snap or whatever the shit they were showing in that Marvel thing. Marvel Snap. Whatever. Fuck off, cards. Get with the modern times. Nobody plays with you anymore unless you're getting pissed up. Annoying. Go away.
I mean, yeah, bro, I'm gonna echo those thoughts. Card systems in games just aren't for me. There was a game that released, Slay the Spire, we got on PS Plus a while ago. And everyone bigs up that game. Everyone's like, this game's exceptional, and it very well might be. But I started playing it, and I was introduced with a card system, and I just thought, might be a great game. Not for me, though. Card systems are gash. If I wanted to play cards, I'd be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon, or an actual just card game. Why would I play a video game card game? Cards exist in the real world. We played Top Trumps at download of the Queen. Rest in peace. God bless her soul. What's the point in cards in a video game, man? I've never understood it. I don't think I ever will. It ruins games when they make systems like this, and it seems like they just keep doing it. And I don't know why. Clearly there's a massive audience for it, similar to the theme parks. And I just don't think it's us, or definitely not me.
There was only one redeeming feature about this game, and I totally echo your thoughts about kind of the premise and kind of like the functionality they've built in this game, and building it around cards is just seems like such a weird choice. I remember the Back for Blood clone. They've got cards in the game and completely messed it up. But this one, it's got a really, not unique, but interesting kind of art style to it. I quite like that in the game, but I'm clutching at straws, guys. It's in the bin for me as well.
Yeah, absolutely dire. Absolutely dire. Audience, I'd love to know what your Shag, Marry, Kill lists are. Do you agree with us on Friends versus Friends, on Theme Park, on these terrible excuses for games, which, sorry if you're developing this and you listen to this and you think, oh, but do better. Don't put a card system in, Jesus Christ. What was your favourite show? What was your favourite game shown? Was it Callisto? Or was it something else? Holler at us. In PS We Trust. No.
Holler at us.
I'm going to do a holler at us.
Yes.
What was your favourite show?
Holler at us.
Holler at us. Hit up the email. pswetrust@gmail.com. Now, as we're bringing this episode to a close, it's come to that point where I'm going to simp for you. I'm going to do my lady voice, so I'm going to do one like Spencer does. If you can please put a review on the podcast, that would be great, please. We've hit 16 reviews on Spotify. If we can get that up to 20 by the end of next episode. Fuck, I can't speak. It's getting late, guys. I've had an early start. 6:30 start. We're at 16 reviews on Spotify. I really want to get to 20 by the time we get to episode 52. So if you do listen to us on podcast services, go on, leave a 5-star review or any review you like. All helps us grow and find a larger audience. If you're on YouTube, stop being a freeloader, put a like on it, subscribe to the channel for God's sake. We're at 82. We've been on 82 for a little while now. We know more of you listening to the podcast than that. So put a bloody subscribe on it. Jesus Christ. Ring the bell. It's not much to ask. You're getting free content here. We got no Patreon. We're not nickel and diming you. We're providing free content with laughs and love. And ultimately, guys, as much as I was saying earlier that I don't respect you for not going to space, I still love you. And that's why you need to support us. Simping's over. Let's bring the podcast to a close, guys. I've been Davey.
I've been Phil.
And I've been Spencer.
Take care, guys.
Peace.
In PS We Trust is hosted by Davey, Phil, and Spencer. You can write into the show via our email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @InPSWeTrust. To find each of us online, follow our Twitters, @SSJDavey, @PhilipHoy, at spendpie_. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. See ya.